Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and the worldwide reveal for Modern Warfare 2 is out. It's basically what we expected. It's a campaign, right? So you're going to see some guys from a single player campaign, you're going to see some weapons in there, and a couple of glimpses towards Warzone 2, and you see things like High Rise as well within the trailer. But aside from that, not really a whole lot of information is given. The real information is coming from content creators. Activision flew out a bunch of people to play the game early, and they also gave a bunch of people access to a briefing where they talked about different aspects of the game's multiplayer. What I did today on stream was I went through and I basically watched a ton of videos from these different content creators that either played the game early or were part of that debriefing, and discussed all the different bits of news and all the different bits of information that I got from those videos. And of course, my chat is right there as well. Always fun hanging out with you guys. So what I thought I would do for this video is break it up into different segments, basically do a reaction style video, I suppose, to the different bits of news and information that came out today. I have timestamps down there in the description if you guys want to check out one particular video. We're going to be checking out stuff from Marksman and JGOD and Drifter and all those guys. So I hope you guys will enjoy this. It's a bit of long form content for those of you who just want to sit back and have something on in the background and basically hear all the information that we have so far about Modern Warfare 2. Of course, more information will be coming out tomorrow at Summer Game Fest, and of course I'll be doing a video on that as well. But for right now, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Let's learn about Modern Warfare 2 together. Marksman, new Modern Warfare 2 early access. Marksman, Marksman, XclusiveAce, JGOD, Drifter all have videos. That's a lot of watching. Are we watching all these? Or are we watching some of them? The Steam page is up now. Ooh, that's cool. We're gonna start with Marksman.
The moment you've all been waiting for. Modern Warfare 2.
His voice is so good, man.
I got a sneak peek at it last week. Thank you to Call of Duty Activision, of course, flying me out to check it out. And thank you to Infinity Ward for hosting it and letting me and about 20 others try the game out and offer our feedback.
So we got to play.
People are in the mindset that the game is going to improve somehow by just bitching on social media or on stream.
Well, yeah, I made a whole career out of it. Yeah,
I have my fair share of complaints,
yeah.
And I have not only shared them with developers when I first met them, I have shared them with developers and the team throughout the years of Call of Duty, like while I'm playing, like during the life cycle of Modern Warfare, Cold War, and Vanguard. I've even DM'd Sledgehammer Games a ton of times regarding bugs and issues with Vanguard. Trust me,
same. Well, I didn't DM.
I do whatever I can to make things work, like improve the game as best as I could, because it's only beneficial if the game is as fun as possible to play.
I'm gonna pause real quick here. What he's saying is 100% true. I see so much, like, you know, people like me or anyone else like, oh, they just bitch and complain. They just bitch and complain. I don't just bitch. Like, bitching and like offering criticism and offering feedback are two completely different things. And I think if you look at my videos through that, like those lenses, you'll see that that's what I'm doing. I'm not here like, oh, I just hate COD, click like and give me money. It's not that. It's always, this was a good idea. Whatever happened to this idea? How can we improve this? This challenge system is inherently bad. The camo coverage in Black Ops 4, or I'm sorry, Cold War is inherently bad. You know, how do we fix this? How can we make things better? Because at the end of the day, as a COD content creator and just as a fan of the franchise, all I want, and all any of us want really, is a good game. Like, that's what we want. Like, yeah, my life is so much easier when the game is just good. Look, you guys know how much Vanguard I've played? I played one time since Season 2 came out. The day that like Season 2, like Part 1 came out for Vanguard, I signed in, checked out the content, signed off after about an hour. I have not been on Vanguard since. And we're like, what, heading towards Season 4? The game's lost me because of how bad the launch was and all the problems that the game had. And I hope to avoid a situation like that with Modern Warfare 2 and all future games.
It's always better to try and work on the inside and talk to these people who make the game directly and explain your side of things, which is why I go to these events when I can, even though, let's be honest, I'm taking 3 or 4 days off from stream.
Yeah.
Just to go and play for a couple hours and talk to the developers.
True. Another big thing. People say, like, oh, you get flown out, Activision's paying them. To my understanding, they do not pay them at all. I've talked to many guys about this. They've never once has anyone gotten paid by Activision. And in reality, you're just losing money to be part of these events. Because you'll think, like, you know, you get to play the game early, you get to do this, get to do that. it's usually not worth it. Like, you look at the gameplay, like the views of the videos that people post when they get early access to gameplay, usually it's like slightly above average, like what a normal video for them would do. And they had to take like a week off to be able to make that video even happen. So when people do this kind of stuff, it's usually for the love of the game and for the hoping that they can actually give feedback and make the game better. It's not necessarily because they're going to like break the bank with it, because oftentimes they lose money on it.
That's it. It's just, I want to be able...
And real quick, I know I'm just pausing all the time here. Same thing happened to me with Borderlands 3. I got flown out to Los Angeles for Borderlands 3. I had to take a whole like weekend off or something like that. And the video that I made of Borderlands 3 after having played it early got 9,000 views because I posted it to my main channel and it wasn't a COD game. You know, I made $30 maybe off of that entire weekend after being flown out to Los Angeles and spending time playing the game early and doing this, that, and the other thing for a 9,000 view video, you know, which to some people is good, but for my channel that's below average. And you know, it was a hit. It was more about the experience and being able to go out there and enjoy it. How long till Warzone 2 is announced? I guess we'll have to wait.
To positively impact the game that we're playing. I want the game to be good. Now I have a ton of notes that I took. I can tell you that I have played the multiplayer. I can also say that I'm not allowed to give you a bunch of information about it.
Okay, so they played multiplayer. That's good.
That were given in our presentation, which I will in a little bit. But I just want to, you know, make sure that your expectations are in line. So I appreciate the opportunity. The multiplayer was a lot of fun. I hope to see even more stuff added to it because it's still really early on in the development cycle, honestly. Well, okay, you know, they've had a few years at this point, but yeah, it's still early. There's still a lot they're working on, they've said. So trust me.
Well, they played a pre-alpha.
Even more.
It's going to be more bare bones and more basic than the alpha that we're going to play.
First, though, the campaign stuff. You're back with Task Force 141. You're doing missions all over the world. The last game... or the last campaign, I think this is a sequel to Modern Warfare 2019. The last mission, I think, spoiler, sorry, in Modern Warfare 2019 is they're comprising and putting together the Task Force 141.
Oh, good, because I didn't play it.
Of all the people, you know, it's Captain Price, Sergeant Kyle Gaz Garrick, Lieutenant Simon Ghost Riley, Sergeant John Soap McTavish, and then there's other people in there as well.
He's definitely reading this because nobody actually cares that much.
Games that you've worked with before if you play the campaigns, which some of you guys do. I still play them too. Not all of them though. Oh, I thought Infinite Warfare, you guys, this like total tangent for a second. As much of a game that I really didn't enjoy Infinite Warfare at all. Most people didn't. Had a really good.
I hear that. I didn't play it either.
Surprisingly.
I played the Vanguard campaign, and without spoiling it, there's probably like in the actual timeline of Vanguard, the story progresses over the course of like 2 hours. The rest of it is all flashbacks, and it's a really bad story as a result.
So let's talk really quick about the guns, because a lot of people want to know about the guns. I wrote down every gun I saw during our presentation with the name of it. You have MK14s,
of course,
on the mission Night War. They were like this MK14 with like night vision thermal. It's like a night vision thermal mission. A lot of these missions they showed us, by the way, they're trying to like give you a good diversity. You know, like sneaky mission or all mayhem.
Well, of course, that's every campaign
mission, or you know, and the vehicle mission. By the way, I'll talk about that in a second. Freaking amazing. That thing looks
really
so sick.
Vehicle missions always suck.
Night vision. They had an MK14. Flashbangs, stuns as well. I think I saw on there. MP7, I had them both marked down. MP7 was a really common gun. K-Block, which is like a Bison.
Okay.
The guns sound amazing. Okay. The guns sound freaking amazing. I don't know why this is a common.
Say what you want about Infinity Ward, but the aesthetic of their game, like the look and the sound of their games, is always incredible. Gameplay is usually where they lose me, but the actual like look and feel of the game, always so good.
Community, but it really is. The guns sound great. People always have a bunch of complaints about having like a high-pitched, kind of annoying Nerf gun sound almost. They have heavy bass on the shots. It's like, you know, it feels and sounds beefy when you're watching it. Something that was weird I saw is that one of the guns had a laser sight on it, and they aimed the gun sideways to shoot with the hip fire. I'm not sure if that's going to be a thing in multiplayer.
Might be a campaign only thing. They usually do stuff like that.
Some things are, you know, always only apply to campaigns, so take that with a grain of salt, the stuff I'm telling you. I saw a gun called the Lock 56 or Lock 16. It was some type of assault rifle. I saw Pila. It was like a rocket launcher.
Yeah, that was in Modern Warfare, right?
To like the old ones. I think it was they only lock on to like vehicles.
Yeah.
It's not like a
a Stinger
personnel rocket launcher. It looked just like a Pila, which is what that one does. M16 mounting. You did see in these missions as well. Mounting still exists. Lowers the recoil. It looked like M4 RPG. On the mission Wet Work, you're like swimming inside this harbor as in like a Navy SEAL doing execute takedowns off these docks. Super stealth mission.
Stealth missions are always the best. Hands down.
For those of you that love throwing knives, going for spawn throwing knives, or maybe you just love knife only gameplay, they're there for you.
TKO will be happy.
1911 Suppressed was used in it. You could shoot underwater, but the ballistics of the water actually changed the damage of the weapon. So it's kind of like shooting through an object, like an FMJ. I don't know if FMJ would affect the bullet velocity.
So unlike Black Ops 3 and 4 then.
Underwater, but it's very similar to that. That's like the best way to word it, really. If you're shooting underwater or into water, I think even, it will slow down the ballistics and make it weaker.
Okay.
Which is really interesting. The water looked unbelievable, though. So we will see how much the water comes into play with multiplayer and Warzone.
They were probably playing on high-end PCs, right? I don't know if he said it.
Working on it. So I'm assuming.
But usually they play on high-end PCs at these events.
Right now, there really wasn't any. And I was surprised because Cold War on the map Armada, the freaking swimming in the water looked amazing. I thought that was the coolest fucking part of playing that, was being able to like swim in Call of Duty now.
True, but Armada was a bad map.
It was a little sad that you never got it in Modern Warfare at all after seeing how well it worked in Cold War.
Well, Treyarch likes water.
AK-47.
Going back to World at War. World at War was initially going to have swimming, but they cut it.
The mission Convoy. This was crazy. So this is the vehicle mission. This
actually have a pre-alpha build of World at War where I can like fly around and stuff like that, and you can swim
over and over out at like
in World at War's
windows,
multiplayer,
even as the driver. You can seat swap during it, and then you can also, as you like disable a vehicle, or like maybe you kill the enemies on the other vehicle, you can jump from your vehicle to their vehicle. Now I don't know 100% if this is going to be applied to Warzone or anything. And even if I did, I guess I couldn't even talk about it. But I'm hoping it would be. I'm hoping that this mission is kind of like a prelude to how the vehicle gameplay could be leveled up in Warzone.
He's talking about water and stuff like that. What about the fish AI?
Vehicle, you know, you can't catch them.
We're not hearing anything about the fish AI here.
It will run you over and it kills you.
Do they move out of the way when you swim towards them?
Literally take over the enemy vehicle, and it just looks so cool. It's way different than your normal vehicle mission, like, you know, going back and being inside of a tank down the roads, or maybe you're up in the helicopter on one of those missions. I remember doing those. On this map, you saw the Semtex, still in the game. Good. I hated the impact grenades. Vector, iconic SMG as well.
Oh yeah, Vector's like everything.
And I think that goes over most of the missions I can really talk about, and some of the guns that I saw during that. On top of that, though, more details. Gunsmith. A lot of people are talking about this, and a lot of people are interested in how it's going to work. Pick 10, pick 12, pick 15. None of that was shown.
It was 5 attachments, apparently, in the Warzone testing they were doing.
And how attachments and guns will work. And so let's say you have a gun family, like the M16, M4 probably is in the same family is my guess. I don't really know for sure because I didn't really elaborate on it too much what the families were all the way. I'm just taking that as a guess. If you level up the M4 to max level, while you're doing that, you're also unlocking family attachments. And so maybe you want to level up the M16. You can go to the M16. It's a level 1 weapon. You can still work towards leveling all that stuff up and getting a lot of the attachments on the M16. But you get attachments for that family or that class of weapon that apply to all of them.
So if you level up one assault rifle and unlock the red dot sight, will that give you the red dot sight for everything?
Stock, or maybe it has a shared grip. And so while leveling up the M4, you unlocked that family grip, and then when you go to the M16 to level it up, you can apply it. So even though you have to start on a new gun, it doesn't really feel like you're going in with a totally naked, terrible weapon, which I'm sure all of us can agree is rather annoying when like you switch to a new gun. And
it's also going to alleviate one of the biggest problems of the Vanguard, which is they go back to the idea where you have to have like 70 weapon levels so you can bring up player retention to unlock like a dozen half foregrips that you're never going to use. At least this way, you're going to have stuff unlocked already, and it's going to make the weapon leveling process a little bit faster. Because let's be honest, leveling up weapons is not fun. Because there's 70 attachments, maybe 8 of them are viable, and the other ones are all just filler that you just have to slog through. So, good idea. There won't be theater mode, according to CharlieIntel. I'm not really expecting theater mode anymore because somehow they made it worse every single year. Black Ops 1 had the best theater mode. And every other iteration was bad. It's going to be a $70 base game. Well, yeah. I mean, I think most games are going up to 70 now. We'll see, though.
Sure. You're like going up against people with maxed, fully kitted weapons, and you're getting torched the entire time. So that was really cool. On top of that, each attachment, I believe each attachment, maybe only specific ones, can be tuned individually. And what do I mean by that? So, like, picture a barrel on a gun. If you want to increase the length or decrease the length of the barrel, you can do that by a certain amount, by a certain level. So you can tune the attachment individually. Now, what would that do for you? Like, let's say you make the barrel longer, it increases
range and accuracy.
It makes the gun more accurate, so it lowers the recoil or increases
shorter barrel
accuracy.
maybe does fire rate somehow.
But a drawback of doing that is probably the ADS speed would slow down. What if you want to do the opposite? You want to shorten the barrel. Well, your ADS speed would increase drastically or something, but your recoil, your accuracy might become worse. So you're able to tune attachments individually, which is awesome. I think it's going to create for some crazy weapon diversity. Although I'm sure there's still going to be, meta gun, meta, etc. It's still cool. I like it. I like being able to use weapons in a way that people don't think about using them. I think it's great for content. So on top of that, you have weapon stats, which aren't. We didn't see anything, but it was nothing that was super specific or hyper specific like you would see in Vanguard under the character sheet or weapon sheet.
Yeah.
But it had like damage, range, or whatever on the right hand side, and had a percentage. So you do get to see how it will impact the weapon as well when you make those changes.
Okay, so what's dumb is those things are always like really inaccurate. They made it better going from like Modern Warfare started it, and then Cold War made it much better. And if the playtesters that played Warzone 2 were accurate, then it would be really cool if we had just a straight up testing range with numbers that popped up when you shot at things. So you could very clearly say, okay, this gun does 30 damage per shot. You back up, oh, now it's doing 25 damage per shot. I put on the suppressor, does that affect the range? You make it so you can test this stuff out in-game easily and simply. Why don't they do that? Why do we have to have like spreadsheets and people going in testing things in live games and just making the data all muddy? Just add like a firing range, a proper firing range that has numbers that pop up when you shoot, kind of like a game like WoW or something like that, Or Overwatch. Overwatch has the same thing.
Attachments. Don't know if I can talk about that, so I'm going to stay away from that under my. Actually, I know I can talk about this. AI. There's going to be a lot of AI in the game, apparently. I don't know how this is going to work in with multiplayer, or if it's maybe specifically to Warzone or DMZ, which hasn't even been confirmed yet. But I could see AI being worked in like that because I've played Tarkov before. So AI is supposed to be much more prevalent in this game.
Okay, like Battlefield
I don't really know
prevalent?
how it's going to be worked in exactly and what's going to be the most enticing way to like interact with AI. I know it works pretty well in Fortnite, usually. So maybe use that as like a base holder. Base holder? I don't know.
Okay, it does work a bit in Fortnite. We've heard that AI was going to be in the game, but it's going to be for like the lowest form of like skill-based matchmaking, like the worst of the worst. And Fortnite does a similar system. But the problem is, even if you're a decent Fortnite player, you'll still have bots in your lobbies. Like you'll have like, there's 100 people that drop in, let's say there's 20 bots. And it always feels really bad when you go win a big fight or whatever, you kill another player, you're doing great, and then you move on to the next fight, and then you realize it's an actual bot. And you're like, well, shit. I'm apparently terrible at this game because this is a literal AI computer that I'm facing that cannot shoot straight. And it kind of just like, it's almost like insulting to have to like go up against AI. Or we've had several times where we get to the final circle, we're battling through bots and players, and you get to the final circle, and then you realize that the final like remaining team is a gaggle of bots just walking along a river, just shooting their guns aimlessly in the air. And then you kill them and you're like, oh boy, I won. Wow, I'm so good. It's like, dude, it's not fun to kill bots, at least to me. We'll see if that's gonna be more of, it's like training wheels, yeah. We'll have to see if that's more of a Warzone thing, more of a DMZ thing. I don't think you're gonna play Search and Destroy and there's gonna be a bot on the other team, for example. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Use that as like a point of comparison. Let me see what else. Oh, diving and sliding, they are both in the game.
Yeah, we heard that.
Also experimenting with a ledge hang, which lets you kind of like sit there on the edge of a ledge with your gun out like a pistol or a handheld, and gives you maybe a way to pull yourself up and still have a fighting chance. Where I'm sure a lot of times you guys get caught while mantling and you just get blown away by somebody waiting there for you. So maybe an improvement. I'm not sure. Usually I think it's you know, if you think someone's there waiting for you, it's ideally not a good time to mantle. So I try to avoid that. Vehicles as well. Oh, something I forgot to add. There was a new helicopter that looked really fucking cool. It's a troop carrier. You can hover. Okay, so this is a helicopter that lets you, like, it doesn't have any guns on it apparently.
Like a transport chopper from Battlefield?
You can drive your like, let's say you're a full team of buddies, right? In Warzone. I have no clue if this applies to Warzone.
Warzone or DMZ probably.
Destroy. If there's a helicopter, that'd be crazy.
That'd be dumb.
But you're able to get your 5 buddies in the helicopter, and you can take them to an objective point or something, and you can even get out of the helicopter yourself, and it will hover there in location, so you can shoot out of the back of it. That's like a loading bay, pretty much.
I don't think that's normal multiplayer. If they have like a ground war style mode, then maybe in there. I doubt we're gonna see that in normal multiplayer.
Or piss people off, which also love doing that. So this is the multiplayer stuff here. Get into the multiplayer, okay? Equipment, tactical camera. All right.
Now, the Black Ops 1 camera's coming back.
It's like the BO1 camera on steroids. Some of you guys maybe used it before, in BO1. So tactical.
The BO1 camera was fun for like joking around. It was never actually good, but it was fun to play search or whatever and place a camera facing the bomb, and you could watch somebody plant it. Like, oh shit, they're planting A. You know, it was more for fun than it ever was like good. But maybe it's getting better.
Camera is a camera that you could place down or place on a wall. I think you can even throw it up on the side of a wall, and it would
replace your minimap.
Let you scout certain areas. Now the camera does have a timer, so it doesn't last forever. And it also allows you, if you have multiple people using multiple cameras, you can go in and check your camera and then check your friends' cameras as well, as long as you're using that ability or that tactical ability, whatever.
So camping cameras is no longer exclusive to Among Us.
Insanely strong. The camera can also idle. So like even if you're not in it and somebody walks in front of it, it might play like a little noise or a beep and let you know that someone's near your camera. This could be crazy strong for search and destroy. I don't know. It's definitely valuable, but also, you know, if you have any good player that could, you know, identify where the camera locations are and shoot them really quick, if anybody was using them,
I'm sure they're going to make a noise. Yeah, you're going to know they're there.
That helpful. So I'm sure if you played Rainbow Six, you know about Valkyrie and how her cameras work. Very similar in that way.
Yeah.
There's also a new thing called a drill charge, where this is also similar to Rainbow Six. If you played that, this is where I thought about it. It's like Fuse in Rainbow Six. He throws a drill charge up against a wall, or it even works on a vehicle. It helps to disable vehicles, and it screws in and then throws a grenade in through the wall, apparently. I don't know if it works on any wall. I never really got to use it.
Stuff like this is cool for search and destroy, but for like domination, for example, it's not going to be used. I guarantee it.
Like against any wall or only specific walls. I know it works against vehicles because they said that, where you can throw it.
Kind of like the same way in Black Ops 4 or even Black Ops 3, like games that had specialists. Like specialists are like a big thing in, you know, search and destroy in the ways that you like played with your specialists. But if you're playing like normal domination, no one's out there like tactically doing things. They're just running around as ruin grab slamming shit. You know, so a lot of this stuff sounds interesting. It sounds like pretty high tech for COD, but it's mostly going to be prevalent in like game modes like Surge.
On a vehicle, and it will give the person in a vehicle a warning that like they need to get out, or they're going to blow up and just die. Everyone in the vehicle will die. So it's a way to like make people exit the vehicle, which is pretty sick. Definitely a counter to, like I said, some of the annoying shit you'd have to deal with in Warzone. People just consistently drive around in vehicles. They have a new EMP device called a DDoS. Pretty self-explanatory on that one. My favorite by far on the equipment is an inflatable decoy. This is
a balloon?
I don't know where they got the idea from.
Do you blow up a wacky inflatable arm dude or what?
Paint targets on walls while playing search and try to trick people into shooting them. Love doing that. It's hilarious. This is an actual equipment piece that's dedicated to it. It's an inflatable decoy that looks like a real troop the whole time and pops up and kind of aims a gun down at people. It can be deployed.
How real can it look if it's inflatable?
So like you could set it up on a location, aiming down on like a line of sight for somebody, and they might shoot it and give away their position. Or you can have it like deploy right when someone walks near it, like a claymore or something, and it pops up and auto orients like the decoy toward them, and it freaks them out. This is going to be amazing for content. And they tried to make it so it would work in any scenario you could use it for. So
dolphin
like
diving and sliding are both in the
game. A truck or something, or you could throw a decoy in the water and it looks like it's swimming. They try to give a bunch of examples. I absolutely fucking love it. I think this is a great example of like fun, interesting things that you can add to the game that doesn't really hurt the game integrity, but does help a lot for content, which is amazing. Because
wait, COD has integrity?
If you're not having fun in the game and you can't,
it's news to me.
That would create fun. What's the point? That's the equipment for now. They talked about as well a new game mode that kind of works like search and rescue.
Why do they keep trying to
knockout?
They keep trying to reinvent search.
Game mode with revives, although revives are not based off of just running over a tag, and it's only 1 minute per round. Very fast paced. Smaller maps apparently is probably what this played on, and then you have to control. You have to control not an objective. It's like a flag.
What was that terrible mode in Black Ops 4 that
and the team that ends with the flag wins the round? Or you can kill everybody and you win the round that way as well. Obviously, that works too.
They always try to reinvent the wheel when it comes to search, and it's always just like a dead mode,
which is great. And it is called Prisoner Rescue, and it's very similar to like playing Rainbow Six and the hostage thing. You have to get the hostage out of a location, and try to bring them back to your base. I don't think you win automatically if you get them out and back to your base. It gives you points, but it's just a point of comparison for you. So. Down to see it. I like seeing new one life game modes, along with, of course, people are still hyped for Warzone 2. People are still hyped for DMZ. I don't even know if any of that stuff's going to happen. Haven't seen anything about it. I guess if I...
Oh, yeah, VIP escort.
A lot of strategic game modes, which I fucking love playing. So I'm happy to have that. This is a long video. This was a ton of information. I apologize. I went over a lot of
we
stuff.
appreciate it.
If you have questions and I'm actually able to answer them, yeah, leave a comment. Leave a comment. I will respond if I can. Okay. Some things I don't have answers to. Other things I'm not allowed to talk about. So, kind of play it by that. So, yeah.
There you go.
Love it. A lot of the things that I saw in their presentation, amazing for content. New. I think it's a good example of taking what people enjoyed with Modern Warfare 2019, and building upon that. And adding more things that are not only new for players to play with and use, but also good for the whole fun value of the game, which I think is an important aspect. So, thank you for watching.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video.
All right, so some good information in there. Sounds like they are doing a number of interesting, we'll say that, things with them adding different pieces of equipment and different game modes, and basically just trying to take the COD formula and expand upon it. Is that going to affect the overall multiplayer? Probably not. I think in certain niche game modes, I think these different pieces of equipment are going to be a lot more prevalent than in other game modes. I think if you're like a team deathmatch, free-for-all, domination kind of a player, then this stuff is not going to be nearly as prevalent, but we'll see. And a number of great guns, the ability to level up and unlock attachments for other weapons while using a different gun, that all sounds fantastic. That's all really good. I've seen okay, so he has a campaign mission. He's a little worried about multiplayer. He does look a little worried. I think we go Prestige next.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It's not often I do a face cam video, so enjoy these chubby cheeks because this is
God,
a
he's
special
handsome.
occasion.
I wasn't prepared for that.
An incredible meeting with the team at Infinity Ward. It was about an hour and 30 minutes long. They showed us a ton of stuff about the campaign, including 4 to 5 campaign mission sneak peeks, which they've never done that before. I'll put a video down below in the description. I already talked about the campaign. Check that out. It's linked down below. They also showed us multiplayer stuff. They gave us a chance to learn more about new vehicle mechanics, gameplay mechanics.
Well, this one's apparently the multiplayer video.
Movement mechanics. And they even gave us a chance to see some stuff about the gunsmith, which I thought was particularly interesting because it's changing quite a bit. So with that said, I hope you all enjoy. Drop a like on the video if you do, and let's get started. I got a whole book of notes here. We're kind of going to jump all over the place.
Hold on. You can't just bust out.
Hey, drop a like on the video if you do, and let's get started. Let's get started. I got a whole book of...
You can't just drop the COD Elite notebook on us like that. Is that... Yeah, that's the COD Elite notebook. You guys remember COD Elite? COD Elite was like... it was like stat tracking before stat tracking was a thing. Like, what's the hip website now that people use to track all their Warzone stuff? Like, this walked so that website could run. COD Elite was like the OG website.
Some notes here. We're kind of going to jump all over the place, so check those timestamps down below. Starting with the ideology that the team at Infinity Ward told us when working on multiplayer. They let us know that they really want to create a multiplayer experience that is fun for everybody, no matter their play style. Whether you're run and gun and you want to get up and close and personal in people's faces, or you just maybe sit down and hold a lane to
COD inherently lends itself so anyone can play however they want.
Maybe you just camp all together, no matter the weapon you're using. There should be fun to be had for everybody. If you saw the title of this video, I'm a little bit worried about Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer, not necessarily from the sake of content, because it does sound like there's going to be quite a bit available for everybody, but it sounds like there's a lot of Warzone mechanics that are making its way into the multiplayer.
I need to get the, I need to get the air conditioning set that he has, because my office is hot as balls all the time.
And Warzone is going to be influencing a lot here, and I that could either be a bad thing, it could be a good thing, depending on what type of player you are. Some of these mechanics sound really, really interesting, and I think that it's going to play a big role when it comes to Ground War, because that will be returning in multiplayer. So let's start there. Let's talk a little bit about Ground War. Let's talk a little...
I mean, to back all the way out. So that is something that Marksman didn't really... He mentioned, like, the vehicles and different pieces of equipment to take people out of vehicles, this, that, and the other. I'm like, it sounds more like DMZ or a Ground War mode, or maybe even Warzone 2. Well, here we go. We got Ground War coming.
A bit about 6v6, because unlike Vanguard, where we had combat pacing, that's not a dumb idea here. We're going to have large-scale combat with Ground War, or you're going to pick, you know, regular core modes, 6v6 and stuff, kind of like we saw in the past with Modern Warfare 2019. So in Ground War, there has been a lot of influence from Warzone. Pretty much anything you see in Ground War, buildings, mountains, water, whatever, you will be able to go and navigate it. You'll be able to climb on top of buildings, you'll be able to use vehicles, and pretty much put yourself in positions that you normally wouldn't have been able to in previous Call of Duty.
Because you have vehicles.
It gives you the opportunity to play how you want, and I think that's pretty damn awesome.
I will say Ground War, what little Modern Warfare 2019 I played, Ground War was probably my favorite bit. Like, I got my nuke in Ground War. Like, I just, it felt like Battlefield Light, which I guess is what they were going for. And a lot of the annoyances I had with Modern Warfare's multiplayer didn't really matter in like a 32-on-32 scenario. You know, if I get killed by some guy camping behind a claymore behind the door, well, it's okay. I respawn back in. I can like go fly a helicopter or some shit. Like, you know, it wasn't COD. It wasn't like the normal traditional COD experience I wanted, but it made Modern Warfare 2019 like bearable, at least for a little bit. So it's kind of cool it's coming back in Modern Warfare 2.
You're playing Ground War, you're going to be able to experience a bunch of new player mechanics that haven't been in previous Call of Duty games in a long time. Modern Warfare 2 will allow you to slide and dive, dolphin dive.
Yep.
Whenever you want. You'll be able to dolphin dive through windows. You can dolphin dive off of buildings. You can dolphin dive off of staircases. Whatever you want to do, you'll be able to do that. But you can still slide if you choose to. And I think how they're going to handle it, they mentioned, you know, just slightly pressing it will allow you to slide, and then holding the button down will cause you to dive. So it's going to be mapped in that way. Maybe you'll be able to change this.
Hey, hopefully you can change that, because I can see myself accidentally holding it and diving when I want to slide.
That's pretty cool that dolphin dive's coming back.
That'd be bad.
There's also going to be a new mechanic called ledge hanging.
Yeah.
This is crazy. You'll be able to hang on the ledge of anything that you can mantle that's tall enough, and you'll peek if you want to, while having your handgun out to fire on enemies that might be there instead of just...
So early on, there's definitely going to be a strat where there's going to be a bomb site inside of a building on the second floor or something like that, and someone's going to go out the window, and they're going to hang off the edge of the window, wait for you to defuse. They're going to pop their head up from the window and then shoot with the pistol at them. It's going to work initially, then people are going to get wise to it, but it should be kind of a fun little mechanic.
Jumping willy-nilly into situations that you may not want to get yourself into. So there's a little more tactical natures to how you engage with a mantle now, and I think that's great. Mantling was also described to us as, it wasn't specifically said like this, but I feel like it's going to have an Assassin's Creed-like situation where you can mantle from one situation to the next if there's multiple mantle spots, and I feel like this
like the Polina mission
buildings
in the Vanguard campaign,
not like a rappel or something available to
which,
you.
by the way, that's not how bricks work.
Really cool. They didn't, like I said, they didn't mention Assassin's Creed, but that's kind of how it was described to us, and that's the first thing that came to my mind. We're also going to be swimming again. So swimming mechanics are coming back. If there's water, you'll be able to swim. You'll be able to dive, and you'll be able to shoot your gun. But unlike previous versions of water that we've seen, there's going to be a lot of ballistic disruption with this game. If you're getting into a firefight underwater, your bullets will do less damage. They will be less accurate, and they will also slow down quite a bit.
I want Splash Remastered.
If someone is shooting at you from
I know it's a Treyarch map, but we need more fun water park themed maps
as it comes through the water itself. There's going to be a lot to break down there, and I'm looking forward to seeing it really, take place in the wild while we're playing multiplayer. But as of right now, it just looked absolutely incredible.
Water as a mechanic is like Black Ops 4. There's only a couple of maps that really like utilized it, and Black Ops 3 was the same. But when water was utilized right in multiplayer, it actually added a lot to the map, and it made the game feel a bit more unique while still staying true to like what COD is. Contraband, for example, comes to mind in Black Ops 4. Going back to Splash in Black Ops 3, like these are maps that like they work water into the maps well, and it kind of just flows really good. What's that? Oh my goodness, I can't remember the name of the map. It was in the beta for Black Ops 3. One of those popular maps. It has a big bridge. It has a big bridge down towards the bottom. It's got like a big cabin. Hunted? Is it called Hunted? Did I get that right? I think it might actually have been called Hunted. Yeah, Monscott's Hunted. That's another example of a map that was like good with water.
Large-scale battles.
Infinity Ward hasn't really done much of that, but I'm interested.
In the past, except it seems like they're bringing more vehicles in, like helicopters. We're going to be able to utilize different ATVs, and we're going to be able to utilize different things, kind of like the fire team mode from Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. But these vehicles have so many more mechanics than they did before. So, for example, this will probably be shared with Warzone, most likely.
Yeah, 100%.
Using a vehicle like a truck,
and those vehicle skins,
like a 4-door vehicle.
Get your credit cards ready, boys.
The driver will be able to hang out the vehicle, sit on the windowsill, and you can spin 360 degrees as the driver, shooting anybody that's coming at you, giving you a chance to fight back if you're the only one driving the vehicle. Alternatively, you can also climb out the window and stand on the roof of the car while it's moving and fire back at enemies, or jump onto their vehicles and create crazy cinematic experiences. You can also shoot out the tires on vehicles now.
Oh,
and
good.
This will disable certain vehicles.
Like unironically, that's good.
Right. And if the vehicles are destroyed enough, they'll have to pull over, or it's just going to be uncontrollable.
I want a mini game where you have to repair a flat.
Repair vehicles now, and you can repair these flat tires before moving on to the next area. Vehicles will also give you the opportunity to transport your friends, while they'll be able to hang out the vehicle and jump on the roof and do whatever. So there's going to be a lot of really interesting maneuvers that happen. There's going to be a new helicopter added as well.
The transport
helicopter is going to be
right?
more transport-like.
Yep,
so it's going to be a flat platform in the back, kind of like a cargo helicopter, letting you and a group of people jump in, not just like 3 or 4. You can have like 6 or 7 or 8 or more people jump in the back of this helicopter and transport them. And the good news is, if you're the driver and you get out of the driver's seat, the helicopter will continue to hover instead of just falling out of the sky, and you'll be in the back as well. So technically speaking, you can create a sniper's nest up in the sky as a solo helicopter pilot and just snipe your way to victory from up there, as long as people aren't taking you out with rockets and stuff. And that sounds incredibly, incredibly fun. Another thing that we learned about in terms of vehicles, and new vehicles in particular, is we're going to see some amphibious vehicles that allow you to drive on land and water, so you can transition seamlessly with your group, or going up against enemies or whatever, and that's really cool. So
it's almost like Blackout came up with this stuff years ago, and then Infinity Ward just pretended it didn't exist.
We've seen in previous games that feature water, and I think that's great. The final thing they told us about when it comes to vehicles,
I love the boats in Blackout.
If you destroy a vehicle, unlike previous years where the husk of that vehicle, the old destroyed vehicle, will just disappear or poof into oblivion, it's not going to do that anymore. It's going to stay on the map for the entire duration of the game.
That is a cool thing.
I feel is really cool because
Battlefield, I haven't played the most recent Battlefields, but back in the day, what was kind of neat about Battlefield, if a tank blows up or whatever, that just becomes part of the map now. You know, that blown up tank or that disabled vehicle or whatever, that's just part of the map now for that game. That's going to make every individual match feel a bit more unique because the map is going to dynamically update based on player input. That's a cool idea.
It's a new form of barrier against you and the enemies, just in case something ends up going down. And just seeing that sitting there in the middle of the road lets you know and gives you context clues to maybe something happened here. You know, not often do you see the destroyed vehicle because it poofs away before you get there. So that's going to be really, really nice.
Yeah.
And there's also going to be different types of vehicle mechanics when it comes to the water as well. If a vehicle is destroyed in the water, or if it's a vehicle that can't last in the water, you'll be able to drive it as far out as you can, and then it will slowly sink into the water and be destroyed that way and stuck under there. Or if it's something like an ATV, there's different capabilities where you can travel across small things of water because the tires will let you go, but if it's too deep, you'll just start sinking.
So vehicles will behave like vehicles is what I'm hearing.
A whole new way to experience vehicles, and I think that's going to be great.
Fuel should not come back. Fuel was a terrible map.
Well, field upgrades.
To be fair, we didn't really get to play Fuel because it had rock collisions.
Now, equipment/field upgrades have been in Call of Duty for many years at this point, but the ones that we're getting this time around are pretty interesting.
Is Dead Silence a field upgrade?
We're going to be getting ourselves a tactical camera. It's
Yeah.
not the first time in the
Marksman
Call of
talked about
Duty
the
series that
camera.
we've had a tactical camera, but this one will be placed anywhere you want. You can hang it on
That's
ceilings,
the Black Ops
walls,
1 obviously.
You can put it on the ground, and you can access it whenever you want as long as it's still there. The other cool thing is, if your teammates are also using tactical cameras and they put them on walls and ceilings, you'll be able to bounce between tactical cameras as you see fit. You'll also be...
Now, I don't know, he might mention it here, but I don't think Marksman did either. What kind of balanced, quote unquote, the camera back in Black Ops 1 was the fact that it replaced your minimap. And so you could like turn your camera on and off based on if you want to see have it be recording or not, if you want to use your minimap or if you want to look at your camera. But there was that downside to it. I imagine the same thing's going to happen in this game. But then again, I mean, it's Infinity Ward. Minimaps aren't exactly a guarantee. So I guess we'll see.
Alerted by some sort of movement with a beep if someone passes in front of your camera, giving you the opportunity to pull it up really quick and see what's going on. I feel like this is going to be really weird to see used and utilized in Search and Destroy, and there's probably going to be a range in which the detection can happen, but still, it's going to be pretty weird, I think, overall. The cameras themselves will probably die in one hit, and they're probably going to be really easy to notice.
Yeah,
they also
I'm sure
let us know that using the camera, you'll
right?
be able to mark players and highlight them for teammates that may not know that they're there. I would like to imagine
like
that
like Outrider, right? Was Outrider in Black Ops 4 did that?
The opportunity to just mark them as we see fit if we see them.
God, Black Ops 4
Another thing that
so
we're going to
good.
be getting is the drill charge. This one is pretty cool because it will drill to the wall, any wall that you go up to, and it will shoot a grenade through the wall, killing anybody on the other side. This sounds pretty familiar because a lot of these things we're talking about comes from Rainbow Six Siege, of course, and there's a lot more of that to come. There's another one called the DDoS. This is an EMP pulse that will go forward, and once this happens, it will disable all the different equipment. It will disable any types of vehicles for a short period of time. I like how we call it a
DDoS
instead of a DDoS. If you're in one of those
DDoS.
vehicles and it gets disabled, one of the new features is you're able to restart it. You'll have to
DDoSing has been a big thing in competitive COD for a very long time, and now they're just adding it to the game.
Gas stations, they said. There is an inflatable decoy, kind of similar to what we've seen in games like Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. You can just throw down a decoy. It will pop up a soldier that looks like an inflatable decoy. And as enemies get closer, I guess it could explode, and it will also turn towards the enemies, giving them the idea of an actual soldier pointing at them. So the decoy isn't completely useless. It's not just going to point in one direction. It will actually move depending on the place of an enemy. And it will also depend on how you're standing when you place a decoy. If you're crouching, the decoy will crouch. What you're hearing? If you're in water, the decoy will appear as it's swimming.
It's a lot of like
there's a lot of uses when it comes to this. There are going to be
which is what they're going to try and sell you on initially.
Mechanics
anyway.
that work in the water as
things.
well. Like if you're throwing a smoke grenade or a flashbang into the water, it will have buoyancy, so it will float up to the top and it will explode. I think that's pretty interesting. Throwing knives are coming back, I should also add. That was shown in the campaign.
TKO's going to be happy.
But we didn't explicitly see it in the multiplayer. I'm just going to assume that they're going to be coming back as well. So we had a couple of different maps that we were able to check out. Some of these maps are small in size. The maps themselves will be 6v6, and they looked, based off of the screenshots that we saw, pretty dang cool. So the first map is called Museum, and it's set in Spain. The second map is Grand Prix. This is a racetrack at night, and there's a race that's actively happening on the course as all of this engagement
that's
is
pretty
happening
cool
in the background. And then we have Farm 18. This is a secret training compound similar to something like Shoot House, and that sounds really cool to me. So as for larger scale combat, 2 maps were revealed to us.
Question: if Ground War is going to be a mode, are they going to have Ground War specific maps, or are they going to just make, like, are they going to make the Ground War map and then cut out a section of it and then call that a 6v6 map? Because that didn't work well in the past. Have they ever remade Resistance from Modern Warfare 3? Yeah, they did.
Plus,
Call of Duty World War II
which
did.
is an urban combat situation, and then we have Sarif Bay, which is a fishing village with a ton of water. They described it as a water playground. A couple of different.
They said that the Ground War maps are from Warzone 2. Okay. So basically, they're just taking sections of Warzone and then making that a Ground War map. Because that's essentially what they did with the original Verdansk, right?
New modes that are going to be coming into the game. The first mode is called Knockout. It's basically like gunfight meets core multiplayer 6v6.
Gunfight should come back.
There's
I like
one
gunfight.
life with revives, and the last person with the package wins. They showed the package as like a bundle full of money, and I really do feel like this is an interesting mode. It's going to be a fast-paced one. They said it's going to last anywhere between 30 to a minute every single round, because it's a one life mode and things happen pretty crazily. When you pick up the money and you're the one holding it, you appear on the map for everybody else. So if you really wanted to make the lobby mad and come after you, you can just pick it up immediately and then have everyone come after you. There's another mode called Prisoner Rescue. This is kind of like breaching and sieging type of gameplay, kind of similar to Rainbow Six Siege. So in this mode, you're going to be either saving prisoners or eliminating enemies. If you are the one that's securing down the prisoners, then you're going to basically be creating a defense.
Lots of Rainbow Six
your best
inspiration in this
to make
game,
sure that the
seems
enemies,
like.
or I guess you would say the friendlies at this point, don't try to come in and take your prisoners. If you're a friendly, you spawn a little bit further away, giving them time to set up their defenses, and you have to make your way in and try to save the prisoners or eliminate all of the enemies that are in there. It sounds like an interesting mode. You know, I played Rainbow Six many of times. I had fun with that. I'm going to be pretty interested in seeing how this works here. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the gunsmith. There are some changes that I noticed.
I want to hear more about the
I'm sure that
attachment
there's probably
unlocking.
going to be perks that influence the gunsmith in some way, shape, or form. But at least from the screenshots that we were shown, there was an MP5, and there were 5 attachment slots. However, at the top, it was only showing 3 out of 3, meaning for some reason there was only 3 attachments available to be selected.
In that build,
I wonder if there's a perk that allows you to have all 5 attachments, and they're just going back to a more simpler time when it comes to attachments on your weapon. But having 3 attachments is still a big deal because you're able to fine-tune those attachments. So for example, if you're using a rifled barrel, you'll be able to go into that rifled barrel, and there's a slider that goes towards more recoil control or more aim down sight speed.
That'll be fun for SMGs, because I've always really liked long range SMGs.
Is how much recoil you're going to get in game. So if you choose that recoil control,
like I've always said, something like the Ripper from Ghost was one of my favorite weapons, because you know, go back and forth between assault rifle and SMG mode.
You're going to have more recoil. So there's a trade-off there. And I think that's really cool. And it's an interesting way to go about selecting attachments. I also think it's going to be, like I said, a headache to people like JGOD, because there's just a lot of different ways to go through this and select how you want. So another thing
I can already picture it's like, all right, so on the vector here, you're going to want to take your barrel and move it to 75%, not 74, not 76, 75% is the ideal length of your barrel. Oh, that's going to be such a pain in the ass.
Of the gunsmith is a new way to unlock different weapons. And it was described to us a little bit confusing, I'll admit, but you basically start with a weapon, whether it's an SMG, an AR, an LMG, whatever, and you have that platform, and as you rank it up, you will unlock other weapons. So for example, we had an example screenshot showing us the M16, and then at level 25 or something, you unlock the M4, and then at level you know, something, you would unlock the 458 SOCOM, and then from there was like an AR that you can unlock that looked more like an SMG. And they said as you complete these trees on these platforms, you're going to unlock a bunch of different attachments that you'll be able to mix and match within the same family of weaponry. So maybe the SOCOM has a different type of laser, but you'll be able to put it on that original M16 that you were using, or the M4.
This sounds almost like WoW skill trees, but that's how you unlock weapons? That's pretty confusing. So just to give you an idea here, this is like what like a WoW skill tree looks like. I'm sure if you played like any kind of like RPG game before, then you've seen this. So like if you're in the assault rifle tree, for example, and this is your M16, then you go down the tree to unlock different attachments, which will unlock you different rifles and weapons. It kind of sounds like how he's describing it, but it also sounds really confusing. So I don't know how that's gonna go. And
I think that's really cool. It was just kind of explained confusingly, and I'm sure it's going to be much easier to understand once we get in game and we actually start playing with it, but it does sound pretty cool. So the final thing I'd like to talk about in this video is AI, because they made it perfectly clear that AI is going to be shared in some way, shape, or form across every single mode in the game.
What?
Whether it's campaign, multiplayer, Warzone, AI is going to be there in some capacity.
Are we talking like normal
and they
multiplayer
really did
modes,
overhaul it quite a bit to make sure that it's still going to act and be smart and not just stand in a doorway or get in your way or maybe, you know, start spinning around in circles. It's going to interact with the environment in a smart way. So they let us know in terms of AI, how it's been overhauled, that there's always going to be something happening with it. If there's no engagements happening, they're not just going to stand there and look awkwardly out of place. They're going to be doing something at all times. They have a self-preserved behavior, and they are going to show their own body language in a way. There's environmental awareness and room awareness, peeking different corners, and they let us see an example of how this was working. And they were really sweeping rooms and vehicles and even checking under vehicles, and I thought that was really damn cool. And this is all going to play a pretty big role. Now, the one thing that I thought was weird, and they kind of mentioned it in passing and they never explained it, was that they have the AI set up to where there's going to be 300, or there's possibility of having 300 AI characters on the map while also having 100 regular players on the map. So
400 people on the map. We have to be talking about Warzone or maybe DMZ in that scenario. My biggest question is what, if any, utilization are bots going to have in normal multiplayer? Am I going to jump in a team deathmatch and have a couple bots on my team, like worse than the ones they already put on my team? How's that gonna go? That's the question for me.
So make of that what you will. They never explained it. I really don't know what that means unless it's in terms of this co-op mode that they didn't give us any details about, or if it's going to happen in Warzone where we just have constant gunfights happening everywhere. But I feel like that would draw away from what you're trying to do. Like if you're in a gunfight with an enemy, the last thing you want to hear is other gunfire from behind you and distract you from the enemy you're trying to listen for.
Last thing you want to do is have 10 kills in Warzone and realize that 8 of them were bots, like in Fortnite.
Or footsteps from an AI. I feel like that's going to cause more problems than you know, have good in it. And the other thing is too, like, how is that going to work in multiplayer? They never really explained that,
no,
which I think is a little bit strange. They just kept mentioning the AI. It's going to be shared across modes, but that's pretty much it. But they did overhaul it quite a bit, and it is very impressive. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to discuss in this video today. I realize that I've been going for a very long time now, but there's so much to discuss, and I know that there's going to be more that I come across or I hear about, and I'm going to add another video later on down the line, I'm sure. Personally speaking, I didn't have a chance to play it. Unfortunately, I was unable to fly to Infinity Ward this time, but they still did an online event. Some of my peers were able to actually play it and get hands-on with the game, so I'm sure that they have more first-hand experiences that they're able to share. But I'm very thankful to still be able to talk about it today. Like I mentioned earlier on, I'm still a little bit worried about multiplayer. It sounds like they're trying to do something a lot different. You know, when they talk about AI, that kind of concerns me too.
Well, obviously, yeah. AI is a big problem.
With
big question, I should say.
All, or if it's going to interact with, you know, our standard Battle Royale, how's that going to work? You know, how's it going to work in Ground War? Is it just going to have constant battles going on and you just hear gunfire from all directions? That could be really confusing. So that's it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Big thank you once again to
Good video
Ward for allowing me to,
as always, from Prestige. So here's the big thing. What they're talking about right now is always going to be the new stuff. When it comes to a reveal, they're never just going to be like, all right, guys, so we've got 3-lane maps. We only have 30 weapon levels per gun. Dark Matter looks really good and actually covers the entire weapon this time. We're bringing 100%er back. They're never going to talk about like the actual, like, the skeleton, like the nuts and bolts or whatever of the game's multiplayer. Right now, it's all going to be about, okay, we're doing this crazy new DMZ mode. We're going to be doing Ground War again with crazy vehicles and all sorts of field upgrades and things like that. We're going to have this new thing where you can, like, hang on a ledge for some reason. Like, right now, they're going to be talking about all the new stuff. That's what they're going to be doing for, you know, the foreseeable future, honestly, until we get more closer to the beta. Then we can actually see what the game is actually like. Right now, they're just trying to sell you the game, and they're trying to say that it's not going to be the exact same game that it's been, you know. So that's what we kind of have to deal with right now.
What's up, guys? My name is Ace, and the official reveal trailer has finally launched for Modern Warfare 2, and I was fortunate enough to attend an online meeting yesterday, and in this, I got to see a bunch of extra stuff on top of this reveal trailer, and I wanted to share all of the most important information that came from that with you guys today. Now, first up, I do want to give a thank you to Activision for inviting me to this online event. Keep in mind, I am not one of the creators that was invited out to play the game last week. I realized there was a small group of people that were able to actually go to the studio and play. I'm not one of them, so I haven't played the game yet, but I have seen a decent amount of gameplay behind the scenes, and also there were several presentations where the devs were going through and talking about a lot of the new features as well as returning features.
Honestly, it's a lot smarter to be the guy that just, like, watches the footage and, like, goes to these like presentations, like online presentations, as compared to someone like who has to like uproot and fly across the country to see an hour worth of campaign footage. It just doesn't make any sense.
And that's primarily what I wanted to put together into one video today. And let's kick this off with gameplay mechanics.
I also want to know about Dead Silence. No one's mentioned it.
Returning mechanics from the past, and others are brand new. And the first thing I wanted to mention for you guys is sliding will be returning. However, they've also included a dive feature, so you can do either one of these. Now, I don't know exactly how this is mapped out and how you perform one versus the other.
I heard slide canceling
let us know that you can slide
like a thing
or dive
anymore.
in this game.
I wonder if that's gonna be true.
Additionally, a really big introduction for the Modern Warfare series, at least, they brought swimming to this game.
Yeah,
and I realize it
Treyarch's had swimming since World at War.
Call of Duty games like Black Ops 3, for instance, that had swimming in it. But I don't believe any Modern Warfare games have had any swimming, so it's at least new to this game. And they actually completely reworked all of the water physics and everything surrounding water, but we'll get into that a little bit later on, since right now I'm mainly focusing on player mechanics. But in this game, you can swim. That does include underwater as well as above water, just in case you were wondering. And you can shoot while swimming, but bullets will be dealing less damage through water.
So we've heard about that already a couple of times. We're gonna drop a like real quick. I just want to show you guys this. So I have a modded Xbox that has access to the World at War beta, and I did a video on this back in 2018. God, I'm old. But this was the very end of the video, and I just wanted to show you, like, this is like what you could have actually done. I'm just gonna mute myself because my voice is annoying. But here's the multiplayer. I flew out of the map Macon, and then you can just go underwater. Now, it doesn't have the exact same, like, swimming animations or anything like that, but swimming was, like, always a part of Treyarch's games. They just, it happens. Also, you notice I'm drowning. And then another interesting thing is at the very end, after you drown, when you come back into the map, you're covered in water. Like, swimming, Treyarch's always done swimming and stuff like that. Infinity Ward, not really for some reason. So, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that.
Water. Next up, for new player mechanics, they're implementing a ledge hang sort of a system. So if there's a high ledge that you could normally mantle up to, where it would be like head level or higher, for instance, where you'd normally have to like jump up, catch a ledge, pull yourself up on top of that, and that's all you really could do in the past. With Modern Warfare 2, they've got a system in place where you can still jump up, catch that ledge, and you can start pulling yourself up, But instead of mantling directly on top of that piece of cover, you can peek over the top of it, and you can actually aim and shoot at people while peeking over top of that. It sounds very similar to like the ladder mechanic from Modern Warfare 2019, where you could be climbing a ladder and at any point just stop and aim your gun and shoot at people.
Yeah.
This is going to be somewhat similar, but instead you're going to be like latched on to the top of a ledge. Now, on a similar note, they discussed some platforming-like features that they've added, kind of similar to that ledge hang, but more of a climbing sort of an element, where you could potentially have multiple ledges going up like a steep wall, and they're implementing a feature where you could jump and hang on to one of those ledges, and then from that ledge, you could propel yourself upwards so you could grab onto the next ledge a little bit higher up.
All right.
Unfortunately, with both of these mechanics, they didn't actually show them off to us. All they did was talk about them, and even the YouTubers that got to play it last week, apparently these features were not in the build that they played. So I'm definitely interested in seeing more when it comes to this, especially thinking about the Battle Royale side of things. I think a climbing mechanic like this could really go a long way into getting up cliffs or something without having to use a zip line. Now, in addition to that, we have some returning mechanics. Mounting is there,
Basically
tack
Skyrim
sprint
up the
appears to be
mountain.
there as well. So no surprise with that one. I don't know what slide canceling is like, or if they've adjusted
I was wondering,
the ability
yeah,
to slide cancel.
I could've sworn I heard they're
didn't
getting rid
actually
of
get
that.
hands-on time with the game, so I can't tell you that. Perhaps one of those other YouTubers can give you more insight when it comes to those movement mechanics. Next, let's talk a little bit about vehicle mechanics they mentioned with this presentation for us. Keep in mind, this is going to be mainly focused on like Warzone, for instance, not the regular 6v6 stuff. But when it comes to this, even as a driver, you're going to have the ability to lean out of the windows of a vehicle and shoot
Prestige
enemy
actually
players.
talked about ground war, because
Of course,
none of the
while
other
doing that,
YouTubers
you
we're
do
watching
lose the
even
ability
mentioned it
to
being a
steer the
thing.
vehicle at that time. Also, you can shoot out tires with vehicles in this game, and the vehicle will handle accordingly. So if you shoot out the left front tire, for instance, it's going to be pulling hard to the left for the person driving, and it will slow them down. However, they mentioned that these tires are also repairable. So after that situation, if you survive, if you want to take that vehicle over, or if you were in the vehicle and survived it, there is the ability to repair those tires on the fly and get back on the road.
This was the only interesting
Additionally, it
point
looks like
on
at
this
least with
entire
certain
ground war
vehicles,
map. The
you're
rest of the
able
map
to
was so
destroy
bad.
doors and stuff on them, so you get a much better shot at enemy players. Additionally, they did mention a new type of helicopter. It's a helicopter troop carrier. So quite a large helicopter that people can actually like walk around inside of as somebody's flying it around. And apparently, even if you're solo in that helicopter as the pilot, you can get out of the pilot seat and go walk around in the back, and it will automatically just hover in place while you do that, and you can shoot down on other players.
Infinite Crisis, thank you very
I'm
much.
interested to see how that one ends up playing out when it comes to Warzone. Sounds like it might be a little on the cheesy side, but it all depends on how they end up balancing it at the end of the day. After that, let's have a deeper look at the water mechanics, because that was actually a big portion of the presentation, because this is something that they have really been building from the ground up with the game. It seems like they've essentially created a whole new water engine with this. And with this, we did see a tech demo as well, and from what I saw, it seems to be very impressive. Off the top of my head, at least, I can't really think of any other games that have water mechanics that are quite as good and detailed as this. So the first thing to point out with water is apparently they're going to be utilizing it across all of the modes. So regular, core, 6v6 multiplayer, the ground war style maps, as well as Warzone, there's going to be water implemented into all of this.
Again, it may be an unpopular opinion, but I like maps that feature water and have water actually be part of the gameplay. I think it's neat. I think it's a good way from a map design perspective. I think it's a nice way to like separate different sections of the map. It adds a lot of interesting gameplay elements. I mean, Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4 did it really well, and it's nice to see Infinity Ward finally catching up with that.
And like I said earlier, you can swim on top of the water or underneath the water.
No one's mentioned
with
dwarves yet.
limits
Dang, I don't
surrounding
know.
that. You can't just stay underwater forever. Also, every element in the water is going to make ripples. It's going to have an effect on what the water is doing, which is quite interesting. And there's going to be a current with the water as well. So certain pieces of equipment, like the proximity mine, for instance,
they'll float downstream.
It actually will float on top of water. It's one of the design features of the proximity mine.
I want to send a mine downstream and have it blow up on someone at the end. That'd be hilarious.
You can throw it in the water, and it will work as a proximity mine against boats that are on the water. However, since it's a floating element, it actually follows a current.
Okay,
and
Jungle
will
Flood was not
eventually
good.
float away on you.
That's an example of them going too far with the water.
They were careful to fine-tune realism versus gameplay. So when it comes to visibility, for instance, you are going to have better visibility than you would actually have underwater. That's just for the sake of gameplay. However, they do say that the deeper you go, the worse the visibility is going to be, and also the less visible you will be to people that are above the water looking down into it. And another thing that's not necessarily fully realistic is you can fire guns underwater, and while they're still lethal, they are going to be dealing less damage. Now, if you've ever seen a gun fire underwater, generally speaking, it's not going to cycle the next round. You will be able to fire the first shot, but the second shot's probably isn't going to make.
You want to take bets right now that one of the DLC weapons or some weapon is going to, for some reason, work perfectly underwater, and it's going to be a big deal. You want to take bets on that? I bet it's going to happen.
Get into the chamber properly. But for the sake of gameplay, you can fire underwater. Also, if you've seen bullets interact underwater, they usually only go a few feet before they lose all their energy, and that doesn't appear to be the case as well here. So when it comes to gameplay design, this makes sense. I'm totally on board with it. I can suspend disbelief when it comes to that. I just like the fact that it's at least going to be reducing damage if you are firing a gun underwater.
Oh,
next up, let's talk about some of the equipment that they talked about in this.
Phil, I forgot about that. The underwater challenges. Wasn't that a thing with the rocket launchers in Cold War? There was something dumb involved, or maybe it was just a normal challenge for like 100%er. But yeah, there's one where like you had to kill someone within 5 seconds of coming out of the water. Oh, it was so bad.
First up, I just want to mention some of the equipment that is confirmed to be returning. Of course, we've got proximity mines, which, like I said, they can also float. We've got flashbangs, semtex, smoke, frag grenade, throwing knife. All of the usual suspects there, as well as snapshot grenades and, unfortunately, the heartbeat sensor. So it seems like basically any piece of equipment that was in Modern Warfare, it's likely to be returning to Modern Warfare 2.
Heartbeat sensor's not horrible in multiplayer,
now let's talk about
but it's
some of the
not
new
good.
pieces of equipment, keeping in mind they were a bit
it was called
unclear
Frogger,
here as to which one of these were field upgrades.
To do that challenge, I had to watch a sour tutorial.
I think all three of these are field upgrades, but I
videos.
may be mistaken on that. First, we have a tactical camera, which is in some ways like a camera spike from Black Ops 1, but it is much smaller and you can toss it, so it's going to be a bit harder to locate and spot. And with this, you can throw it down and use it manually, so you can have a look at the camera at any time throughout your gameplay and monitor what's going on where you threw your camera. Or if you just throw it down and sort of forget about it, it will have an enemy detection system. So I believe it makes like a little beeping sound if an enemy comes within view of that. So then you could pull that up, or you just use that information knowing there's an enemy there. And with this, if you are looking through the camera, you can tag enemies with the camera itself for your teammates. As for the next one, this is a drill charge, which sounds pretty interesting as
now you guys got me thinking about doors. No one's mentioned doors yet.
With
you think that'd be like one of the first things they would notice, right?
Wall, and it will drill through
or maybe
the wall
they're just so
and then
used
fire
to
a grenade onto the other side of that. So if you have an enemy camping in a room, for instance, and the wall is thin enough, you can throw this charge directly on the wall outside of that room. It'll launch a grenade in there and potentially kill the enemy player, or at the very least get them moving out of whatever corner they might be in. So when you breach, they might be a bit more on the scrambled side, and you'll have that slight advantage. Additionally, they mentioned that if you throw this onto the side of a vehicle, the people in the vehicle will get a notification that that drill charge has hit the vehicle, and if they don't get out of that vehicle, it will kill everyone inside without necessarily destroying the vehicle. So they mentioned it doesn't actually do a lot of damage to a vehicle.
Well, it's like throwing a grenade. It's like throwing a grenade into a tank,
killing them.
They'll just kill everything inside the tank. It's not going to blow the tank up.
Either by the explosive killing them or forcing them out, and then you shoot them. You can go and take over that vehicle and it will still be functional. And then finally, for the equipment they showed off for us, this one is called DDoS, and this is confirmed to be a field upgrade. And with this, it's an EMP-like
I want to know about doors. I want to know about dead silence. Like, these are big for me. These are really big aspects to me.
And it gives you the ability to launch a directional EMP pulse that will destroy equipment and temporarily disable vehicles. And I actually really like the sounds of this one. I feel like it could potentially be a great choice in multiplayer as well as Warzone. I really like the idea of being able to disable an enemy vehicle as it's driving near you.
Yeah, Zero was a really balanced character in Black Ops 4.
Just a little bit less powerful and exploitable as a combat mechanic rather than a traversal mechanic. But finally, there's one last item, which I think is a bit of a meme item. I can't really see people taking this too seriously. This is an inflatable decoy. So with this, you throw down this mine onto the ground and an inflatable soldier will come out of this. This can be activated manually, so you can throw it down and then manually make it pop a soldier out of that. Or you can just throw the mine down and it can be activated via enemy proximity. So if an enemy walks close to it, This
Yeah, no
inflatable
one's
decoy
mentioned
will
kill streaks
suddenly
so far.
pop
This is
up
the third
next to them
video,
and
so I don't
potentially
think kill
distract
streaks are
them,
part
get
of the
them to
build
fire
that
a
they
few
were
bullets and
planning.
reveal their position. However, from the looks and sounds of this, it's going to be completely harmless to enemy players. It's just going to be used as a sort of distraction and detection piece of equipment. Like I said, this one seems a bit silly. I can't see people taking this overly seriously, but for the memes, it sounds great. So there we go, that's some of the equipment that I wanted to point out. Now let's get into maps. And they didn't reveal like every map that's going to be in the game or even a map count.
The race car
I
map
have no
sounds
idea what
pretty
the
cool.
map count's going to be. But they did mention
Like
the
an active
separation
race
between what
happening?
they call battle maps and core maps.
What?
And this distinction is important. Battle maps are built for ground war and other modes. That's what they said. And what I suspect that means is DMZ. Now, DMZ is something they didn't say a word about during this presentation. I still feel like this is something they're keeping under wraps. This is a mode that has been leaked where it's a loot and extract style of a mode. And I suspect it's going to be taking place on the ground war maps. And with these maps, they are the typical ground war style, although it's nice that they mentioned that these were built specifically for this purpose, and they aren't just like chunks of a battle royale map that they threw together and turned into a ground war map.
So it's a chicken or the egg thing here. So according to Ace and the people he talked to, the ground war maps were designed for ground war and DMZ and whatever, and then they were placed in Warzone 2, not the other way around, which is the way to do it, frankly.
And I do like the sound of that. But after that, let's talk a little bit about the core maps. And they were careful to state that the core maps in this game are built exclusively for 6v6.
Hell yes.
There was no mention of separate 10v10 maps like we saw in Modern Warfare. It looks like all of them are going to be built with 6v6 in mind. And then perhaps they'll still have like a larger player count mode that you can play on these maps. But there was no mention
Old school
of that,
ground war was great.
And with these,
9v9,
I'm
Modern
very
Warfare 2,
excited
Black
to
Ops 1,
hear
so
that
fun.
they're
It was so
apparently
fun.
taking a different design philosophy approach from Modern Warfare 2019. When they marketed that game, they talked about how the maps were a bit bigger and more porous and had places where a lower skilled player could potentially
I've played that
hide
clip
or
so many
take some
times.
time
Yep,
to
yep,
just
yep.
regroup their thoughts and stuff.
Basically,
so it's
places
not
for
an
you to hide,
overwhelming
man.
experience. But unfortunately, this just didn't land very well with a lot of the community.
No
It seemed like
shit.
Shoot House and Shipment were the only really super popular maps in that game, at least for respawn game modes. So it seems like they've learned some lessons here, because what they mentioned about their core maps is they're trending toward being a little bit on the smaller side. They're going to be cleaner, and they're going to have a lot less verticality than the battle maps or the ground war maps that will be in the game. So from the sounds of it, if you want that experience, it's a little bit more porous, room to breathe, and some verticality and sort of power positions and camping positions, then you go play on the battle maps. Whereas if you want more traditional Call of Duty, you go to the core maps. And at least the description from this sounds promising. Now, I haven't seen the maps. I don't know if this is actually the case or just how they're marketing it. Only
diverting
time will
away from
tell,
the Modern
but
Warfare
at the very
2019
least,
style.
it sounds promising to me. Now, finally, to wrap up the highlights from this, let's talk about some new modes that they're bringing in. The first one is called Knockout, and this is a one-life round-based mode with revives, and it is a 6v6 mode played on the core maps. And from the sounds of it, it's fairly similar to the heist.
New modes are a good thing, right? Because without new modes, we don't get innovation. And every now and then, they really strike it rich. Like, if they weren't adding... we had the exact same modes from, like, Modern Warfare 2, and they never added new things, we never would have got kill confirmed. You know, for example, that's... Well, Demolition was in Modern Warfare 2. Well, either way, game modes like kill confirmed, game modes like Demolition, a lot of people like Drop Zone. Every now and then they actually add a new mode that's actually really good, but the vast majority of the time these new modes are exclusive to one game and they're never mentioned again. And I have a feeling these
so for every
modes here are
round
going
there's
to
a
be
package on the map, and both teams are fighting over this package, and the team that's holding the package when the time runs out will win the round, or the team that just simply eliminates
Who's
the other
talking about
team
bringing
before
back
the round
Heist?
ends, they will also be winning the round. As for the second new mode that they talked about a little bit, this is called Prisoner Rescue, and this is going to be a sort of attack and defend or breach and siege style of gameplay, where one team is defending and holding hostages in a defensible area, and the other team has to go in and extract the prisoners or simply eliminate the enemy team. And apparently this one is actually going to be taking place on both the battle maps, so the large scale like ground war maps, as well as the core map. So it looks like a lot of versatility with that. And while this mode doesn't really appeal to me too much, I'm still interested in checking it out, and who knows, maybe I will end up enjoying it.
I find myself agreeing with Ace so much.
There is one other big thing that I want to talk about, but it definitely deserves its own video.
Like a lot of time I watch other YouTubers,
the gunsmith is laid out, because they have made some very key changes.
I find myself like feeling like an alien. I'm like, their opinion just like so different than mine. Like me and Ace agree on almost everything.
The gunsmith this time around. So expect a video from me talking about all the details of Gunsmith either later today if I can get around to it, or at the latest it'll be coming tomorrow. And with all this, you guys are probably wondering my opinion, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't really feel comfortable sharing an opinion at this stage.
That's fair.
I haven't gotten any hands-on time with the game. I saw a presentation, I saw some campaign gameplay, as well as some tech demos,
what they wanted him
and that's
to see.
it. I can't really determine the quality of a game based on just those alone. So I'm not here to hype this game up for you guys, and I'm also not going to trash on it at this point. I want to get my hands on it, I want to play it for myself before really forming any strong opinions about it. So I'm still in the cautiously optimistic, wait and see sort of a mindset with this. And that's where I'm going to leave it for now. And this is where I want to hear from you guys in the comments section below. What are some of your initial reactions to the things I talked about in today's video? Whether that's some of the mechanics or the map design philosophy, the game modes, the equipment, the water changes, just let me know all of those thoughts in those comments. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always
great video
appreciated,
from Ace.
and don't forget to subscribe for
good stuff. Not a ton of new information there, but it's always good to hear from Ace. A lot of people are saying Jev, that we should check out the Jev video. So we're gonna watch the Jev video. Oh, he's playing is this Plutonium?
What's going on, guys? It's Jev, and we just had the premiere for the reveal trailer for Modern Warfare 2. I don't know if I can really, like, actually upload it or whatever. Like, if I don't know if I can, like, directly react to it or anything.
Well, probably not because of the music.
They use music and shit, so I'm not entirely sure. I don't
know
if
you
I
have to
can
mute
play
the
video.
music.
But finally, Modern Warfare 2 has finally been revealed, and I mean, it looks crispy. Personally, I think I like the Modern Warfare 2019 trailer a little bit more, but regardless, I mean, trailers don't really say much of anything anyway.
A campaign trailer, especially, I mean, you got a feel for like how the game is going to look, and you got to see a couple of weapons, and you got really disoriented when they had the upside down scenes. That was pretty much it. I mean, campaign trailers are campaign trailers.
Okay, so I've watched a lot of good trailers. I mean, the Vanguard trailer was pretty good too. You know how that goes. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to title this video, but I ended up getting invited to view some sort of presentation for Modern Warfare 2. I've basically seen a lot more gameplay than what was just in that trailer. Thank you to Activision for inviting me there to, you know, watch it. It was definitely a very unique experience, that's for sure. So basically, I was invited to see a presentation. I got invited out with a whole bunch of other people. Now, I am aware that there are some people that got...
So some people got to play. Other people just got flown out to watch a presentation. Whereas people like Prestige got to watch the exact same presentation from home. What's even the point?
To physically actually play the game and shit, so I'm not one of those people. So everything I tell you guys is just from what I've seen, not what I've played. So I can talk about pretty much everything that they showed there, almost everything. So there's also, I think people are probably gonna end up seeing gameplay at like Summer Games Fest anyway. I'm pretty sure that was announced. So basically
campaign
just to explain
stuff,
the things that I saw and
that's
like
tomorrow,
my overall,
which we'll be streaming that tomorrow
too.
too.
I think content-wise, we're probably in for a really good year. Obviously, now although I signed shit, it doesn't mean that I'm like contracted to go and only say good shit about it. You know what I mean? There's a reason why it took me so long to even be invited to these things in the first place. I'm not the most positive guy. So I have a lot of complaints, you know, a lot of clips out there. All the viral clips of me are me literally losing my mind over the game. Not saying positive things, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, here I still am. So what they showed us, basically they showed us a few campaign missions, and it was like this presentation thing where they did like the talking points and showed like little gameplay clips and examples of a whole bunch of different shit, like the operators, some weapons, equipment. And I'm not entirely sure of which creators were all there this time where I was watching it, but is it just me or did they talk about water a fuck ton there? They made this like a lot of talk about water. So
water and AI is what most people seem to be talking about.
In terms of just the way that the game looks, it looks incredible. Obviously, it looks super crispy, super clean. That's how Modern Warfare just looks. I think that's like a huge part of the appeal. The sleekness to it, the way that the...
Again, I said earlier, while I disagree with Infinity Ward on a lot of things gameplay-wise, when it comes to their aesthetics, when it comes to like the sound, and when it comes to the visuals of their games, they're always incredible.
Shadows
always
are,
so
the way
good.
that the colors are, the way that everything just sits on itself is just I don't know. Modern Warfare just seems to do it
Old
right.
Joel
They started
Emsley
off
knows
the
what he's
thing and
doing.
they said, you know, what were they trying to aim for with this game, and what did they learn from Modern Warfare 2019 and then over the years and all this other shit. And basically they were saying that they wanted to try to make a game that was obviously fun for everyone. That's usually the goal. You're trying to get as many people as possible to...
We want to make a game that nobody likes. We want to make a game that when you play it, you have zero fun. Well, they did that. It was called League of Legends. But every game developer's going to try and have some fun and try to make the game enjoyable for everybody, right? You want as wide of an audience as possible, of course.
To help aid rushers and things in the game that help aid slower players, campers, dog shit. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, people that like playing more stealthy but are aggressive, like people that are constantly flanking, shit like that. They tried to add things into the game and build maps with all of those things in mind. Like, as you guys know, you guys are aware that they learned their lessons with how people like the flow of Call of Duty multiplayer anyway. You can see that they learned how to, you know, do maps a bit better just from the later maps that they ended up releasing for Modern Warfare 2019. They learned what does and doesn't work. Better. Those maps with, you know, a million windows on it and all this verticality and shit like that, it can still exist, but there's right ways to do it and wrong ways to do it. And just because it looks realistic and believable as a map, yeah, it might look nice, but does it play nice? You know, not always. If it looks realistic...
Exactly. Call of Duty is not an RPG game. If you're playing an RPG or something, then sure, you're going to want everything to look realistic. When you're playing a multiplayer map, you can get rid of a lot of the realism to make the map actually like play well and look good and just actually have flow to it. Favela right here is a great example of a map that has verticality, but it's done in a good way.
If it looks like all the rooms make sense, if it looks like all the lines of sight make sense, all the cover, all of that shit, it still needs to make sense and be fun to play on. So they prefaced everything with this is how they were thinking. They wanted the game to be more simplistic and not more complex. Now, I'll let you know whether or not, you know, I agree with whether they've made it more or less complex, but I'll let you guys also determine that or not with some of the shit that I say. Anyway, guns, yeah, there's a lot of shit that looks really familiar.
Yeah, realism should be far from the priority.
New weapons I saw, I couldn't really tell. Everything just seemed, I'm not entirely sure. I saw the Fennec, I think. I ended up seeing...
My dude's running around quick scoping with a Barrett 50 cal. The COD's not realistic. Stop pretending it is, you know?
I think an AK in there. Sniping, I don't think I saw that much sniper gameplay, to be honest. I saw a rifle with like a scope on it, but in terms of sniping, no, I don't think I saw like any bolt action sniper rifle. Maybe for like a shot or something. Maybe I could go back. They covered the campaign, the cartel is involved and shit like that. I didn't really take too much of a note of exactly what's going on with the story and everything.
I could not care less. I didn't play the Modern Warfare 2019 campaign. I probably won't play this campaign either.
Soap, Laswell, Graves, Vargas. Game, again, looks super clean. It's very Modern
Unless there's a reward for doing so.
Then
I'll probably do it.
Clothing and the weapons and all that shit. It just looks so good. The night vision effect was a little bit different, I noted. The gun sounds are super meaty, super loud. Obviously, we can make our adjustments to that, you know, to try to make it better for gameplay overall. But in terms of, like, for a campaign mission I was seeing, for example, hearing a shotgun fired inside in a fucking hallway is insanely loud, and the visual recoil was insane. You know how in Modern Warfare 2019, how the muzzle flash was, like, crazy? It was over the top. It kind of feels like it was this way. Now, obviously, this could just be, like, an effect of, like, you know, the campaign or something like that. Maybe in multiplayer you can adjust it or whatever, but I noticed that the muzzle flash was pretty crazy. Now, maybe that could be fixed or something like that with like an attachment or some shit or adjustment. I don't know. But yeah, the gun sounds were super meaty. The sound in general just sounded directionally really, really good. The occlusion, all that shit. Typically, you already know that the sound quality overall is insane. Obviously, in a campaign that's super immersive. So now, when I was saying the water, for
so somehow this popped in my mind, right? He was talking about like the visual recoil. He's talking about the muzzle flash and things like that in Modern Warfare 2019. Who remembers pre-nerf dark matter in Black Ops 4? Here, I can actually just copy an image over. I'm just gonna open up Paint and do it there. Who remembers that? Why does that make me laugh so much? It was so bad. They had to nerf it down like significantly because you straight up couldn't see what was happening.
For example, the water.
As soon as he said that, that's immediately what my mind went to.
On certain parts of the map in Warzone, I'm assuming, as well as multiplayer. Joe Seacott was there. Joey, along with, like, you know, the swimming mechanics. Yes, you can swim. It's going to be a thing. They noted that they wanted the swimming to feel not like a cumbersome thing, like a penalty. They don't want it to feel like whenever you go jumping in and just swimming and shit, like if you're trying to get away from somebody,
flashbang every time you down sights.
And then all of a sudden it's like, why would I want to go and jump into the water if I'm just out in the open if it's not going to be of any use to me? You know what I mean? So they made it so water is actually kind of used as more of like an escape tool, not a thing where you attack people from. You're not allowed to use your primary underwater, for example.
Yeah, it's pistol or melee weapon
out of water
underwater.
Into the water also actively affects your bullet velocity, which also affects its range and overall damage to people. That's the thing what I mean by like water is used as an escape thing. You hop into the water, and the water is going to be kind of murky, especially the deeper down that you swim and stuff like that. Obviously, you hold your breath down there. Can't stay too long or anything, but you can use it for cover for a short amount of time and then, you know, pop up somewhere else. I don't know how widely used it's going to be. People are making jokes talking about swim canceling and shit. I don't know. This is going to be a lot of information too. So time around, they also paid a ton of attention to vehicles. Like,
watch that be the fastest way across the map is to somehow swim cancel.
And how the gameplay looks and all the things that you can do with the vehicle. And it's more than just you being in the driver's seat and you just being in the passenger seat. There's like you being in the driver's seat, you can be in the passenger seat, you can lean out and shoot while in the driver's seat,
360-degree thing,
and onto the roof of it, even though the vehicle is not like a multiple seater thing. Like you don't need a truck in order to kind of use it as like a platforming vehicle, like how the big beds are in the back of the Berthas at the moment. Now I'm pretty sure I did see a Bertha too, so it's not like it's going anywhere, but yeah. They showed us this whole thing on Gunsmith and the things that they're choosing around it. Now I saw 10 attachments. There's the muzzle, the underbarrel, the laser, the ammo, the optic, the rear grip.
Okay, so he's saying there's 10. Previous stuff was saying there's only 5. And then there was Prestige to something about being 3 of 3.
The stock magazine. Also, I saw receiver. I don't really know what that is exactly. The thing is also, I don't know necessarily if you can use all 10 attachments like it is in Vanguard or whatever.
And maybe the gun can have up to 10 attachments, but you can only use 5. So, but there's 10 attachment slots for you to mess around with. And then maybe there's a wild card like primary gunfighter coming back or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know if it's going to be limited to something. I ended up seeing, like, even though there were 10
I thought that system in Black Ops 4 was good.
I saw that
you only choose between attachments
selected,
or extra
but it
perks.
said that it had 3 of 3 equipped. So I don't know if that was just like a visual thing or maybe I'm just like misunderstanding what the fuck I was looking at. But it showed that there were 10 attachments on this weapon. It was an MP5, I think. In every single one of the categories, there was something there, just like you saw in Modern Warfare 2019. But also at the top, it had 3 boxes ticked and it said 3 of 3 equipped. So I don't really know. They also said that they're obviously trying
it's
to
confusing.
keep an emphasis on just modern.
When you're looking at like an alpha build, which they're definitely playing, like if there is going to be an alpha, it's probably going to be like a gunfight alpha or trying out those new One Life game modes or something like that. But what they're playing now is likely like a pre-alpha. Like even like it's not like what we're going to play, because I assume there's going to be an alpha of some sort. That is going to be much more polished than like what these guys were playing, for example.
Military, modern day stuff, modern warfare, no sci-fi, over the top, futuristic kind of shit. Not even into the realm of like BO2 style, whereas that was like a little bit into the future. This stays grounded in like present reality. I'm going to assume, you know, obviously I don't think we're gonna
was set 3 years from now. Let that sink in.
Now, here's one thing that's kind of weird to me, all right? So just stick with me here. So you guys know that obviously the build on your weapon affects, you know, the range,
technically 2.5 years,
and all that shit. And we tried to build them for particular situations, right? In multiplayer, we tend to build them a little bit faster. In Warzone, they tend to be a little bit more long range, and then your close range option could also still be a little rangy or whatever. But the current meta is one nice, slow, long range weapon, and then a fast, up close, close quarter weapon that kills super fast. Now, I'm going to say this, though. On top of that customization, they have these other things here now where there are actually gauges on the side where you can actually change the weight. There's literally a slider on the side and a slider on the bottom. Like, imagine your loadout thing with all the attachments and shit on the screen. Pointing to, like, where it is on the weapon and all that shit. And you can see it change and shit. On the side, there's, like, a little, like, scroll thing, like a volume button, basically, where going up makes the barrel heavier and moving down makes the barrel lighter. And at the bottom, it also is a thing of, like, you can, I don't know what it changes, the weight of or something, the length of something, I don't really know. Where it would affect like your aim walking speed versus your aiming stability. Now this to me, in my head, completely goes against what the fuck they were just saying with this whole, they wanted to keep it simple. What I mean by that here, I'll give you an example. Class setup video. You never played Warzone before. You go and search JGOD. You go and search up anybody that just goes and shows their class setups at the start of the video. Man, I saw Tim the Tatman went and put this video up and he said that this is the one that's super strong. He used it in a game, or he spectated someone in a game and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna try and use it. This is the class. Make sure you use this special long range barrel. Use this one in particular, right?
It's the joke I made earlier. It's like JGOD and Ace and all these people are gonna have such a hard time because like, all right, when it comes to your Barrett 50 cal, you want to move the slider to 47. Turns out 47 out of 100 is the exact right barrel length for the optimal amount of range and damage, but you don't want it to be too heavy right? You don't want it to be too light either, because you have recoil. So when it comes to the length, you want it at 47, and when it comes to the weight, you want that at 54, or some shit like that. Like, it sounds so confusing.
But they changed the length to 40%. It's insanely good. And then somebody else chimes in, nah, dude, I think 20% barrel is better. I don't know, man. I'm thinking 45%. It's gonna be that. Like, if I'm understanding it correctly, the way that I was looking at it, the way that they're talking about this, and the way that they presented it, this is gonna make class setups like literally infinite. Your barrel could be like 1% better. Dude, all I'm saying is JGOD's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah.
If this is working the way that it looks like it's
test
going to
out
work,
every
it's
single
literally
percentage
gonna
of the
be a thing
barrel,
where people are going to be talking about like the actual like numerical length of a barrel, like in inches.
So, dude, you guys know how like certain like weapons and stuff like that. Like, if remember back in Modern Warfare, if you ran some certain foregrip or whatever, you ran slightly faster. I think like the original Modern Warfare 2, if you use extended mags on a P90, it like doubled your sprint length and stuff like that. They're gonna have to test out every single like increment of these barrel lengths to make sure some random ass quirk doesn't happen, because it turns out at 69 inches for some reason the barrel just doubles your range. Only at 69 though. Like, they're gonna have to make sure there's no those quirks or anything.
Centimeters or whatever the fuck, millimeters. I can't wait for the whole debate of like, oh, is it better to use a short barrel with maximum length, 100% length, or is it better to pick a long barrel and then make it as short as possible? Like, oh, holy fuck. I don't know. It adds an entirely new depth. I don't think this like kills the game or some shit like that. I'm not saying it's this awful thing, but what I am saying is that it's definitely gonna go against the idea of trying to keep the game simple and not more complex. I can't imagine how the fuck they're gonna go and balance this whole like thing. I don't know. That was definitely the biggest thing that I know. Also, there's like an actual like graph. Now, obviously, we don't really want to listen to Call of Duty graphs and stuff like that, the in-game graphs and models. This is why we all go to like, you know, JGOD, True Game Data, all the guys that actually cover the thing and measure TTK and all that other shit, XclusiveAce. There was like an actual graph thing. The information isn't usually very trustworthy. You don't really get a good measurement or idea of what the actual TTK is. Even though you see a weapon has like this amount of damage, you think that that automatically means that it kills faster, but it still doesn't show you mathematically how its rate of fire would affect the TTK in comparison with the amount of damage.
COD should fix that. I've said it before, say again, we need a proper firing range. We need like actual stats to pop up. Like Overwatch has this, for crying out loud. They've had it since like, when did that game come out? 2016? Like, it's so easy to measure in a game like Overwatch. It's not perfect, but COD needs to have this. Like, I don't understand why it's not a thing, why it hasn't been a thing.
For example, they talked about COD 2.0, where they said that they want to use like one unified engine. I don't necessarily know what that entails, so I'm not going to speak too much on it. But it always has felt a little weird over the years, where it felt like you knew that one was a Treyarch game, you knew the other one was an Infinity.
They had a very separate feel. Now they don't.
Because they all kind of had like their own engines and stuff like that. Now, when they say one unified engine, I don't know if that's what they mean for like just the future, or if they mean that that's just the same engine across Warzone and Modern Warfare 2022, just like how it was with Modern Warfare 2019 and Warzone 1. I'm just gonna assume it means that. I'm trying to imagine what a Call of Duty even looks like on a completely like Treyarch design, but with like an Infinity Ward engine for the foreseeable future. If they want everything to feel
kind of like Cold War,
the
I would
same,
imagine,
still pertaining to Warzone 2, if they want more of a lifespan, it actually does make a lot of sense for them to all use the exact same engine and then build off of each other, right? Like, be competing with each other and seeing like, you know, which one fits better and sits. Call of Duty's coming to Steam. I don't really know how much of an upside that really is. I mean, more access, sure, fine, but I don't really think downloading Battle.net was much of like a wall or anything like that anyway. But the one upside to Steam is if you go and buy it on Steam and you hate the game, I think you can refund it within like an hour of gameplay or some shit like that. So you could do that if you want. That would be
it might be 2 hours.
I
can't remember. There is a much better refund policy on Steam.
What that really entails, though, because just because it's going to Steam, that doesn't mean that it still won't like open the other launcher
2 hours,
anyway. For example, you could get like Rainbow Six on Steam and it'll still open your Ubisoft, or you open like
That's a good point,
Battlefield or some shit and it opens
the same
Origin
engine does make it easier to update Warzone 2. To have it all just be one unified thing, it's not necessarily a bad idea.
They said that they wanted to, and I'm quoting it, embrace emergent play, and that all content is built for 3 behaviors that are like the general mold of most players. There's the rushers, the campers, I think they use a different word for them, but they mean campers.
Tactical players.
There's subsections of all these play styles, like a rusher can also be a flanker, or they could be more of an assault straight down the middle. A camper could be a little bit more like equipment heavy, like actually camping, not doing shit for his other team, whereas another guy is actually like camping on top of and holding objectives and shit like that. You know, they're trying to set all that up,
at the B flag,
trying to build the maps with all of those things in mind and things that can help them, just like they were talking about the equipment. Wheelson can also swim now, since there's going to be water on the map and shit like that. They call them amphibious vehicles. You're going to have things things that are going to help you,
Wilson
you know,
can swim.
rush
Wait,
lanes and stuff like
whoa,
that.
whoa,
Gonna
whoa,
be things in the
whoa,
game.
Wilson. Was that not a, that was the kill streak in Modern Warfare 2019, right? I remember specifically because when I did play that game, I did all the challenges, I think for season 3, I think it was. And one of them, you had to like run over a bunch of people with your Wilson. So did you just confirm that the Wilson was there? So they actually saw kill streaks? Because no one else to this point has mentioned kill streaks at all, unless he was just using that as like an off-the-cuff example, which he may have, it sounds like he may have been doing that. But yeah, no one else has mentioned kill streaks yet.
That are going to help you, you know, press people, catch people by surprise, put them at a disadvantage and stuff like that, make them uncomfortable, put pressure on them. And then there's going to be other things in the game that are obviously going to help people that are trying to hold shit down.
Big true,
so,
real men
you
camp
can
on the B
dive.
flag.
Dolphin
Yep.
diving is back. So basically, if you just go and hold the button, you can dive just like in Black Ops 1, and then you can tap it for the slide. So you tap for slide for, you know, slide canceling and shit like that, the typical stuff that people do. There's sliding and diving, so we'll see where that goes. I don't really know how useful slide or jumping is going to be in this game. We haven't seen really any gameplay of it. I didn't see anybody attempting to slide cancel or how effective it would be or anything like that. No idea what it looks like. I'm going to assume we're going to see gameplay at some point. I mean, surely there's going to be multiplayer gameplay soon, somewhere. People are playing it, people are testing it, I just haven't. I don't know if I talked about this already, but they added this thing where now you can like climb on ledges and shit like that.
Yeah.
Where, you know how like whenever you go and jump up this ledge right here, your character automatically will like jump and push themselves up like that, and there's nothing that you can do, and you just die doing it a lot.
It's this terrible animation that gets you killed, so you try to avoid it
just
again.
kind of hang on to the ledge. Also, like in Warzone, for example, if you're parachuting in and you just miss a ledge,
I was making
and your
tip
character
videos
kind of
back in Modern
bounces
Warfare
off of it,
Remastered
it's,
saying,
like,
don't
kinda awkward,
mantle
you have to,
over
like,
windows,
glide
run,
down
jump,
past
and
it. You
crouch.
can actually
They go
click the
through
chute
windows. It
and
saves you
grab
time.
onto the
It
ledge
doesn't get you killed.
instead of bouncing off of it now. So it seems like they're just adding more, like, you know, with the maps, there's more possibilities to parkour and climb up and just kind of outplay people. You see that happen in Warzone a lot too, where you know, somebody's hiding in a house or whatever, but you could jump up on the windowsill and then climb up onto the roof to be able to make it up into this other window that they think that you can't get into. Just things like that. So it can definitely add
Freaking
like
Spider-Manning to catch
skill
campers in
level to the whole
Warzone.
thing. So it definitely adds this whole level of like new level of parkour possibilities and shit. So like you can go and hang onto it, or you can like peek over like that and pull your pistol out and shoot with it like that. Don't really know how effective it's gonna be, but you know, worth a little try. You know, maybe you can finesse some people or some shit like that style on them. And then they talked about field upgrades. There's a tactical camera that kind of works like the Rainbow Six camera a little bit. It'll send notifications, and then other people that are also using tactical cameras can see into other people's tactical cameras. Like
there's gonna be some fun stuff with like a full
charge where it's like you could throw it
like
on
a full party of
wall, and
cameras.
it'll drill through the wall and then spit out a grenade on the other side inside of the building, so like you can flush campers and shit out of rooms and stuff like that. And obviously you're, you know, notified if that's a thing, and if that's happening, you'll be able to audibly hear it and then get the notification visually if you're close enough to it. But it's a good thing to try to flush people out. There's a DDoS field upgrade. Yeah, DDoS.
Yeah.
It's basically like an EMP thing that also notifies you when there's systems around it. It'll like ping you and shit like that. You'll see it on like your HUD or something. There's also this is a crazy one here, an inflatable decoy. Everybody laughed when they showed this shit. Inflatable decoy. Basically, it's, as it says, whenever you throw it out there, it's this little box thing, and then it pops up and it looks like a soldier. And that thing can actually make noises and can be triggered. So for example, if you got one sitting right on a corner, right? And it's looking towards this way, and a player is coming around, and they bump into the back of what they think is an enemy, but they don't shoot it, it'll immediately, like, make a sound and scare this player into believing that this person is actually, like, a player or something. They try to jump scare you into firing on it. It also, like, acts as, like, a mine.
Like, you turn the corner, you see the guy, you're immediately going to shoot at it, have it, and that's going to give you away. That's the point of it.
And also, they talked about maps. They're going to have large-scale maps, which also are, this time around,
yeah, hopefully DDoS doesn't ruin kill streaks. I'm tired of kill streaks being bad.
The Warzone 2 map. You recall, Modern Warfare 2019, their ground war maps, because it was a mode that they added later. It was not a planned mode necessarily, and then they just, you know, kind of went with it. They basically put you on Verdansk, a giant map. It wasn't necessarily designed for that style of combat. Now, it works generally. Ground war is pretty good. I had a lot of fun with ground war. It's definitely not bad, but you can tell that it wasn't necessarily designed for it. This time around, these large-scale maps are absolutely designed for it, and it's not just stuck onto the Warzone map and then just, like, cut off somewhere with, like, out-of-bounds things, invisible walls and shit like that.
Yeah.
No, it is built specifically for. Obviously, we got the
that's two creators that said that, and that's a good thing.
Exclusively built for core multiplayer. I don't know if there's more than 6v6. They have absolutely said 6v6. I don't know if there's gonna be like 10v10, 20v20 possibility. I have no idea. They said that they were trying to keep the maps relatively small. Again, they said that they wanted emergent gameplay. They want people to engage with each other. 3 of the maps, one was Museum, another one was Grand Prix, and another one was Farm. They also talked
like
about
Farm
a couple
18
game
or
modes
something
and
like
shit
that.
like that I likely
Prestige
won't
said.
touch at all, but one of them's kind of sounded like a Rainbow Six mode, where it's kind of like search and destroy, but there's also like a hostage and that you have to go and capture and then get out safely with them alive and shit like that, where you just eliminate everybody. There's also another mode named Knockout, which is like a combination of gunfight and core MP. Something with like
again,
a
I hope
package or something.
like proper like gunfight comes back.
Likely, I'm just gonna.
But then again, having gunfight creates a
hardcore,
situation where they're
fastest,
putting
playlist
development time into
possible I could
2v2
possibly get,
maps.
just to be able to go for the mastery camo. We didn't see anything on camos or anything like that, so hopefully, you know, maybe
Breach and Hostage are both cut from Modern Warfare 2019. Interesting.
there will be some information on that whenever we get more actual MP information, like gameplay and other things like that.
Maybe they just
a
need to
full-blown
refine it
overview
more
for everybody. I don't know. Maybe they'll show people the same thing they showed us. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I've heard. So in terms of looks, obviously it looks like Modern Warfare 2019, but better. Overall, my actual opinion of the game, I think there's just with the name by itself, this game is easily just going to be a success. Right off the mark,
it's gonna sell.
be immediately just a bunch of clips and funny moments and viral shit and fucking a million different TikToks and streamers and TTVs and all sorts of shit, man. I can just tell it's going to be Modern Warfare 2019 and Warzone 2 all over again. And forget about it once Warzone 2 also releases. It's going to be disgusting, man. Also, the thing is, I don't know how mechanically different this game is going to be from Modern Warfare 2019. I mean, looking at the gameplay, it definitely looks updated. It doesn't look like Modern Warfare 2019. It looks like Modern Warfare.
Well, one thing Ace mentioned was that the multiplayer maps are meant to be a bit more simple, and that they learned from their mistakes of Modern Warfare 2019 because they realized that the DLC maps for Modern Warfare were a lot more popular than the base maps because they didn't have the camping spots and the all the extra sight lines, the extra windows, and things like that. Again, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid is the way to go when it comes to COD maps.
But better. I don't know how else
Keep
to
a
say
simple
that.
layout
Overall,
with a
my
fun theme.
impressions of
That's what you need.
Without actually playing it anyway, so that only means so much. I think it looks good. I'm also sure that there's a lot of other people also uploading videos, and maybe if I missed any information or whatever, but yeah. We saw some missions. They showed us what their ideas were when they're, you know, constructing maps, and they're doing it the vehicles in the water and shit. All right, yeah. That was a fuck ton of information. So, anyway, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the reveal. Hopefully whatever it is that they're showing at Summer Game Fest is also going to be, you know, really cool and shit. People like
again,
that,
Summer Game Fest. I'll be streaming that as well, doing videos on that.
There's only really so much information that we're going to be able to get.
Although it's mostly going to be campaign stuff tomorrow, but
you know,
who
just
knows?
from
We
that
might learn
reveal
some cool
trailer
stuff.
and whatever it is that they're going to show from Summer Game Fest, but I am hopeful.
All right, hard cut, like it.
Finally, after what, 16, 17 minutes of me babbling, let's talk about multiplayer.
All right.
As we mentioned before, water is going to be on a lot more multiplayer maps, and the water isn't necessarily for killing people like it was in Black Ops 3 and 4, but this water is more for obfuscation. You have a lot of variability and visibility, so you use it to hide.
If he crouches down like he just did, you can shoot through the cracks right there.
We have amphibious vehicles. Wheelson got an upgrade. He can swim now. That's kind of interesting.
Okay. All right. It wasn't like a term of speech or whatever. Like Wheelson was actually there. So I don't know if they just mentioned the fact that Wheelson can now swim or if Wheelson was actually part of the game, because no one seems to be talking about kill streaks or doors. And those are two. Oh, and dead silence. These are like the three things we want to hear about: kill streaks, dead silence, whether or not it's a field upgrade, and doors. No one's mentioning anything, but apparently the Wheelson's there, and apparently it can go in the water.
Still knee slide. They made jokes about slide canceling, but didn't really clarify a whole lot. The new movement mechanic is you can now dive to prone. I think it's kind of like a dolphin dive, but not as extreme. You just fall down to prone like super fast, but you have a little animation for it. So that could be helpful. And they decided that wasn't enough. Since you are going forward, you can now dive and slide under small things. You can actually dive and bust through windows and land and shoot people. So that could be pretty fun. They've done some pretty big changes to the mantle mechanics. They have one much like Apex. You know, in Apex, you can crawl up, put your hands up and hold, and then kind of peek your head up to see what's over.
I haven't played Apex in so long.
Call of Duty now, and a feature they are playing with is also to one-hand peek and point a pistol over. Not a full gun, just a pistol. So you're doing that. They're also playing with the ability to kind of pull yourself up a little bit.
The spot he's in, by the way, I've gotten so many nukes camping right there. It's the best spot in the game.
You miss your target when you're parachuting in Warzone or something like that. And those aren't final features, but I do hope to see them. Now we get to talk about vehicles. I hit that really hard and fast earlier, but they pretty much massively overhauled the Warzone vehicles. The Warzone vehicles are just very, very simple vehicles. I mean, you blow them up, they disappear, they don't take particularly unique damage, but now they do. So the first change is that to shoot out of a vehicle, you have to lean out of it, just like you're in Blackout, you know, and that gives some fairness to shooting.
It does sound like they took a lot of ideas from Blackout. It's like they're finally acknowledging that Blackout existed and taking some of the mechanics from it and improving upon them.
Or blow off the doors of the cars, the windows, the hood, all kinds of stuff like that. So if you can blow off a door, you can expose the entire inside of the vehicle. You can shoot out the tires to make them drive worse. You can run up to a vehicle and you can climb in it, on top of it to hold on, or you can hijack it like your Master Chief taking a Banshee from an Elite, which is kind of neat. They have their own health, which is a little bit more clearly displayed on screen.
That's good. Like a health bar for the vehicle when you're shooting at it would be nice.
So if you think about it in Warzone, you'd blow up the vehicle and it would slide.
I mean, it's not realistic, but they're kind of moving away from realism a bit.
Very unlikely that you would get hit by a burning vehicle because it doesn't stay on the map very long. That's
Is he wearing Twitter merch? It looks like it.
Now, so when you blow them up, they tumble, they destroy, they can smash into water, kill people, do all sorts of things. And they did tease this really interesting big helicopter, a troop carrier helicopter that apparently players can fly and drive around and do things with, I assume mostly in Warzone, but that'll be something
Warzone DMZ ground.
When it comes to new equipment, they did show off the tactical camera, which is a little one you can throw down like from Black Ops 1, except it mounts to anything. You can fling it on the ceiling, the floor, the wall, whatever. And you can obviously look down the side of your camera anytime you want, or your teammates can, or you can look down your teammates' cams. You can all just throw 6 cams and kind of get really good vision on various areas of the map. You can set your camera to motion alert you. So if like somebody's like going to defuse the bomb, your camera will like boop, 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 somebody's here. So that's kind of interesting, kind of cheesy. I think that's only going to matter in tactical modes.
Yeah.
They added a way to
I wonder if there, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a perk that allows you to see stuff like that, like a bomb squad equivalent.
To the wall, kind of like in real life. And it drills in.
No more tack insert.
Out a little grenade.
No one's
on the
mentioned
other
it
side
so
that
far.
Blows up what's ever in the room. That also works on vehicles, but uniquely with vehicles, it doesn't damage the vehicle itself very much. So if you stick a vehicle with a drill charge, you could blow up most of the people inside, and then you could just hijack a vehicle with probably like 75% or more health. Similarly, they also added a device. It's an EMP device, but they decided to name it DDoS. Love the name, because I can't tell you how many times I've been DDoSed and ranked. Pretty much works the same way. It's like those drone guns you see in downtown LA or now in Ukraine where you shoot down drones. It's like a directed EMP. So you can just point this thing and click it and it'll disable vehicles temporarily. It can also detect equipment. So it's a little bit like SitRep. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's going to be allocated to a perk as well, because there's all this equipment. It would be nice to be able to see it coming, like Engineer in Black Ops 4.
These are field upgrades, if I'm not mistaken. I think these are field upgrades. Inflatable, I can't even say it. This is so ridiculous. Inflatable decoy, just like in Metal Gear, what is it, Snake Eater? One of the more modern ones with the
apparently Metal Gear 5, something like that.
You can throw it on the ground.
I don't know. You guys are saying it in chat.
What it will do is sit there and do nothing, but if an enemy comes by, it will pop up and orient right at them. So your decoy will pop and rotate. If you throw it in a crouched space, it'll pop up crouched. If you throw it in the water, it'll inflate in like a swimming kind of pose, and it just pops and turns, so people will shoot at it. It's very little health, but it does give away their position. And if they get too close to it and try to touch it, it's also a claymore and blows up. So I see some potential hilarity here for a little bit, and then perhaps a lot of frustration as I get sick of running into these things.
Yeah.
So as
imagine people actually take the time to place those down in domination.
Large-scale maps.
It's not going
ground war
to
and
do anything. It's just going to be annoying.
As they said, probably the DMZ mode that's been leaking. So they're going to have very big ground war maps, just like Modern Warfare 2019. And then they have a bunch of 6v6 maps, and the developers said that they were trying to make these smaller and tighter. I'm imagining kind of like some of the smaller maps that came out later in Modern Warfare 2019's life cycle that were very popular.
Yeah.
And these maps are going to have less climbing, less grappling, less mantling.
Less verticality.
So much of that in the big maps. These are going to be like your classic 6v6 3-lane bounce house maps, as I call them. And I think that should give people enough variety. Then finally, here, now the end of the video, there's a couple of new multiplayer modes they talked about. There is a mode called Knockout, which is somewhere between Steal the Bacon and Eliminate the Oddball. There's a bag of money that you have to hold and escape with. You can use the money to buy back teammates if they've been eliminated. You can save your team. You can secure the bag. You can do some things like that. It kind of actually reminds me a little bit of that like heist mode from BO4. So we'll see how that plays. And
it sounds good. It sounds complicated. That's a good point.
Which by its description sounds very much so like Rainbow Six Siege. It's one life. You don't plant bombs. You have to secure the hostages safely. You can grapple in multiplayer. You can, and this one is specifically for breaching, like how you bust in through windows, how you bust in through doors, how you clear rooms when things are very destructible. And what I'm mostly hearing about this, like what I'm feeling from what they're telling me, is Rainbow Six Siege. So that's good tactical mode. So we got like some run around with your chicken, like a chicken with your head cut off, shoot people mode, some tactical modes, some big modes. So if any of these are half good, that sounds good to me. So that's all for this video. This video is just a pure factual one where I'm just doing information dump on you guys to the best of my ability. Subsequent videos are going to be about some stuff that I saw that comes out as later embargoes expire, and of course my opinion about all of this, especially Warzone 2 and multiplayer, because I kind of...
Sorry, I've been reading what Earthbound put in chat there. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to show it, but it looks like it's like stuff that's in, like within the game files. Is this the Modern Warfare 2019 game files or the Warzone files? But it looks like Last Stand is going to be returning in some capacity, but I imagine that is going to be part of the revived system.
I like what I see, but I also
DMZ
see potential for a lot of cheesiness. So we'll talk about
mode.
that in later videos. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.
All right, good guy, Drifter. Nice and to the point. And because that one was so short, we do have time for JGOD. Don't want to leave anyone out here.
So I get invited.
Although I wonder, is there going to be a timestamp for this? AI and gunsmith and creative class, water mechanics, design choices, new movement. It looks like pretty much everything in this video is useful.
By Activision to check out the Infinity Ward headquarters and check out Modern Warfare 2 a little bit early. We were able to talk about different mechanical changes that have happened, a few different campaign missions, multiplayer changes mobile that inevitably will make it into Warzone 2.0, whatever you want to call it. And then I also got a little bit of hands-on testing, because it was pre-early alpha or whatever you want to call it. So there's going to be a lot of changes between the versions that we see in terms of trailers and content. And the actual beta
I must be the ugliest COD content
later
creator out there.
In a few months from now. I'm not sure exact date yet, because I don't think that's been announced, but obviously we have a launch date of October 28th. So I will say that I have obviously been invited in the past, and I'm still pretty vocal and open about my opinion, because I'm honest. Obviously I'm passionate about Call of Duty. I enjoy Call of Duty. So there's probably a lot of you out there that can relate to it, and there's stuff that annoys you about the game, but you still play it because it's Call of Duty and you enjoy Call of Duty at the root of it. And that happens all the time.
This actually looks good. This must be the remaster.
When I played it early and had access early, not quite as early as this, I was pretty harsh on that, and I still got invited back. So I have no problem being honest about things I like and dislike about the game, because if I can't expect to be honest, then basically you shouldn't be inviting me, right? Obviously, if you were really into the lore, this is a sequel to the Modern Warfare 2019. It has really nothing to do with the original ones of the gameplay you see in the background from like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's an entire reboot, which is so weird. But then again, like Call of Duty's, dude, their like branding is so awkward. Like Call of Duty Modern Warfare came out 3 years after Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. So you have Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare Remastered, Modern Warfare 2. Is it all making sense for everyone? Good, because it's not supposed to make any sense.
Which are considered or highly regarded as some of the best Call of Duties ever, including Modern Warfare 3. And I'm not a big lore guy. There's other guys out there like Ink Slasher.
Ink Slasher's like
the nuances
pretty much
of the
go-to for lore.
I don't care. I play a first-person shooter to shoot the weapons and see how the gameplay feels, because at the end of the day, that's what really matters. Something I wanted to focus on is water. Normally how it works, at least on Warzone, most of the bodies of water, if you touch them, you die because they're primarily out of bounds. Same thing with Rebirth Island. And then they do have these little ponds that really don't interact in any meaningful way. These ones will allow for full submersion, and they want to make sure they did it right, which means it'll have a functionality where obviously it's going to look good. Infinity Ward usually has a good way of making their games.
CharlieIntel says guns will be able to have more than 3, but way less than 10 attachments. Interesting. I think when we wrap this up here, CZ, thanks for the resub. Sub for the ugliest COD YouTuber. Thank you. I think we'll check out like everything CharlieIntel's been putting out, and then we'll probably wrap it up.
Look very pretty, and sometimes to a fault, I would say. But overall, they make the game look. They want to make that water look as real as possible.
Oh, so why is the Uzi so ugly?
It's gonna feel.
What they do
like
to the Uzi sights in the remaster?
The murkier it gets. They have the little reflections.
Or maybe that's how it always looked like in the campaign. The multiplayer Uzi in Modern Warfare 2 is phenomenal, Iron Sights.
We were able to see, you know, if they had
got rid of the tiny little
something
butthole
like
sight.
that, you just had to swap to the pistol. It wasn't fireable until you go to the top of the water. Then you'll be able to pull out those primary weapons. And I think that's a way to balance it. But on top of that, if you are underwater and you're doing a gunfight underwater with pistols, the bullets will actually have a little bit slower projectiles because they're passing through water, and they'll deal less damage. So they kind of went to a little bit bigger length so that I think there's a risk reward associated with water, because if you happen to have somebody jump in, if you're running overkill, you're running 2 primary weapons, you're not going to be able to fire your weapons, so you're going to be at a huge disadvantage. So there is a little...
the game flops, was Activision gonna do? They're more focused on Warzone 2 anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
A bit of risk reward, especially if we're
what this game
thinking
does.
long term. Eventually, when Warzone happens, there's probably going to be a decent amount of bodies of water that will be in the end zone, and you'll have to be able to go, okay, this end zone's landing water or ending water. Maybe we go ahead and choose a pistol loadout, or however those mechanics are going to work. One thing they did talk about that was incredibly important.
This does look really nice, though.
To, I think,
this is obviously the original Modern Warfare 2, but remastered.
You're going to have a similar creative class that we had in Modern Warfare.
Okay.
We're able to essentially pick 5 attachments. We're not really able to go into the nuances of the creative class, because in the version we played, we didn't even get to create a class. We use default loadouts. So I'm not really going to be able to talk much on that. But one of the cool things they talked about, and I think this is going to help out a lot of casual players and players to help diversify the weapons. A lot of times what we have right now in Warzone is that you have weapons like the MP40 being highly used just because it was leveled, not because it's the best, because there's clearly better options for close range. Just people don't want to go out of their way to level the weapons.
And it was the best gun in multiplayer, so I assume the same was true of Warzone.
So for example, you start with an M4 and then it maybe splits off to a Growl. This is just hypothetical, and it goes to a Ram and then to an Odin, whatever. And as you progress through this, you're going to be able to unlock specific challenges and attachments for the individual weapons. And basically my understanding of it is hopefully it works as good as I think it will. But essentially, let's say you have the M4A1, and we know the meta build for Warzone is essentially a monolithic suppressor, Corvus Custom or the M16 barrel, whichever, you know, the Grenadier, and then you use the Commando foregrip, 60 round mag, and a VLK optic, something along those lines.
Although you can just rattle that all off top of his head.
For all rifles, if you unlock the challenge to do the monolithic suppressor, maybe 10 kills with a suppressor or whatever, and then you would unlock this attachment, and it would be a perma unlock
for every weapon in that tree.
Within that basically
family,
weapon tree.
they called it, yeah.
So that when you do that, you got the monolithic basically perma unlock.
Weapon trees do sound pretty cool.
Foregrip perma unlock. So that when you unlock the Ram, you already have 2 out of the 3 meta attachments. Or
that is such a good idea. And again, one of the big things I hate is like all the useless attachments, right? And then the fact you have to get all of them to get your weapon to max level, to therefore get all the challenges to do the camos. Hate that. Hate it so much. Vanguard especially is really guilty of that. And it sounds like with this new system that even if they do have 70 weapon levels or something absurd like that, that you can still have most of your attachments unlocked. But then again, how are weapon levels going to work if you already have the attachments? Do you still have the weapon levels just there to be there? Kind of like, what was that gun? Help me out here. There's a gun that came out. It might have been Black Ops 4. I think it was Black Ops 4. There was like a shotgun or something that came out that had like 2 attachments on it, but it still had 30 weapon levels for you to go through. Can you guys help me out with that? There was some weapon. I can't remember what it was. It was the dual, like the Executioner or something like that, wasn't it? Like the secondary shotgun pistol. It still had like 20 or 30 weapon levels you had to go through, but there's only like 3 attachments for it. It's like, what's even the point there? You're just making us waste time to unlock camos.
4 meta attachments. So that is kind of a cool idea. Basically, a level 1 gun can have equipable attachments based off of this, but I'm not sure exactly. They didn't go into a deep dive on which attachments would be unlocked through challenges that would essentially be perma unlocked for that weapon category or weapon tree. because they fit within that particular model. SMGs would probably fit into their own, and that's kind of how that works.
Yeah.
So overall, I really like that. They've also added another nuance to the create a class where certain attachments will actually have sliders on them. So you'll be able to pick an attachment that you want for aim down sight speed, let's say, or suppression and recoil control or something like that. And then you'll have these sliders that'll actually be able to adjust things like recoil versus aiming speed or ADS speed. So for example, if you were building it more for long range, you'd probably push the slider all the way towards recoil control. If you want to aim down sight speed, or maybe the gun just does not have any recoils, you can go full aim down sight speed.
Yeah,
Or for an
certain
SMG
weapons.
build,
Depends
you
on
can
the
go that
weapon.
route. And then the other slider is aim walking speed, which would be the strafe speed, along with aiming stability. So your recoil pattern could get a little bit wonkier, but you can strafe faster or vice versa. So it allows you to take one attachment. Now
Basically,
that you've
you're
got
trying to make your gun a
unlocked,
laser beam. That's
apparently,
like
right?
the
And
ultimate
now you're
goal with
equipping it,
about every
and
weapon.
you can
right?
actually use a slider to make this weapon fit your needs until you unlock the right attachment or the meta attachment, and it will allow you to diversify your builds. Overall, hopefully this is how it works and not some kind of pay-to-win.
So Day says he's still holding out hope that they release like the original Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer remastered. And what I initially thought when I read that was, I was like, well, how are they going to name it? You know, Modern Warfare 2, they're going to release Modern Warfare 2 and then Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, but have it be a remaster of a whole different game? How about this? Modern Warfare Remastered 2.
Concept. I'm not
It's
trying
better
to give
than
them
calling
any
it Modern
ideas,
Warfare 2
but
Remastered.
maybe if you bought a blueprint
Modern Warfare Remastered
with
2.
those specific ones, you can unlock
they
it
ever
for all
release
the
it,
weapons.
which I highly doubt they're
and that
going
could
to
be an
anytime soon.
interesting take on it where you have that cosmetic, but now it works on all these different weapons and not just the one blueprint for the one attachment for the one gun. That doesn't really make much sense. I think it's kind of lame in that sense. So that's the basis of the gunsmith. I'm sure we'll get more details about this sooner rather than later. One other nice little ad that they did was the stat bars. Now they have a little bit of a number next to them, not quite as complex as Vanguard or Cold War, but they'll have a number so you kind of have an idea of how much that bar is actually moving, and it's a percent scale. If the bar was completely empty, it would be a 0. All the way full would be 100, but for most weapons they sit between 70 to 80, so you can kind of see what the attachments are doing and how much they're doing, so you don't have any confusion when you see a tac laser improves your aim down sight and a stippled grip, and which one is going to help more. You'll know that right off the bat intuitively just by seeing the numbers without all this details.
The question is, will the numbers actually be accurate? No gun vault news, surprisingly. Well, it's the
That are
first
also
day.
important, but a little bit simplified.
But yeah, I hope
For
that the
whatever
in-game
reason,
UI is
basically
actually
they kind
accurate,
of
though, 'cause
breezed
rarely
over it,
is
but
it.
it was more one of these things that their AI is supposed to be really good. They've modeled real life tendencies of players and real life operators, how they move and clear buildings, so that AI can work that way, whether it's in multiplayer. There might be some modes that have
There's still a big question about how multiplayer and AI is going to
AI.
work, but we'll see.
They weren't really descriptive. I would imagine
the
that's a
ACR in the
part of
trailer?
Warzone or that leaked
Maybe? I don't
mode that a
remember.
lot of people have been talking about, DMZ, which I don't really know much about other than it's been leaked, right? And then obviously the campaign, the realistic AI, how they work together, move together. And I would imagine it would depend on the difficulty you choose so that you can actually have that level of immersion if you want to be like, damn, those guys are actually working together, they're giving call outs to each other. So they've worked on that, and that's something you need to see to believe type of thing. Can't really explain too much on that. COD 2.0 on October 28th. We're going to get one unified COD engine. So this is going to be one engine that's going to be used pretty much for everything. And I think that they're already sharing everything with Treyarch or Sledgehammer, how they're going to be able to develop the future games, whether that's in 2 years or
They talked
whenever.
about this back during Modern Warfare 2019. Activision announced they want the studios to work in a more unified way, and that's basically everyone using the same engine, everyone kind of contributing to each game to lesser or greater extents. Yeah, I mean, it could, if done right, it could be good.
Steam, which was already kind of announced a couple days ago. Warzone Mobile will be available as well on mobile, and that's the old Verdansk map. We'll see kind of how that actually plays out. I don't know if it'll actually be anything worth playing, but mobile is a huge market. Ricochet will be integrated on day one with all the learning so far. Obviously, there are cheaters that will always exist in online gaming, particularly PC gaming, because people can generate hacks, inject them. but in the long run, they've been less and less over time. I feel like you rarely run into them. Even though they do definitely exist. It kind of just depends. There's some days better than others, some days worse than others when it comes to that. So when it came to the overall design philosophy of Modern Warfare 2, they said they wanted it to support existing players with multiple behaviors, and they kind of broke those down into 3 different categories. You have the rushers, which typically are those players that run around with like a chicken with their head cut off. They'll flip spawns. It doesn't matter.
They did this scene differently in the remaster. He was using jumper cables in the first one.
They're just full sending, trying to get kills, and doesn't always play the smartest way. They had this other one that was referred to as Sentinels, which I would consider that defensive or campy, where they lock down a building. Usually more of a campy play style. And then there's Stalker, which is more the methodical, tempoed play style. And they kind of want to try to add things that would only help, that would help each of these individual categories, and that each one was being represented, because obviously Call of Duty's been around for a while. Some people camp, and that is their play style. People hate campers, and that is what it is. People rush, and that is a play style. You know what I mean? All play styles are valid for those individual players. You don't have to like them all, but you do realize they do exist.
But people that camp in the back of the map and don't actually contribute to anything, that's not a valid play
You're
style.
going to have default loadouts.
Go camp on B flag.
Or for multiplayer, you normally would get 5. They're going to have 6, 2 for each category. And hopefully they change them over time to adopt what those players are actually using, so that somebody just getting started, they'll have a close to meta weapon right off the bat, and they're not at a huge disadvantage, even though that weapon tree will exist. There also is a dive added into the game, and pretty much
dolphin
how
dive
this
and
would work
slide
is obviously we have a slide canceling. You got
civilian walked right in front of him.
Slide, which before within Modern Warfare and Warzone, you had either tap to slide or as a setting, or hold to slide, and they've essentially made it so everyone is now tap to slide, and then hold would be a dolphin dive. So you're going to actually get both mechanics when it comes to being able to do tag sprint,
shoot him through the door,
slide cancel, and then dolphin dive. In terms of feel, you're going to have to feel that for yourself. I would say that it is a little bit different, and we'll kind of see whether or not how the community likes it, because sometimes people are opposed to change, even though tag sprinting, when it was added to Modern Warfare 2019, didn't exist. People thought it was clunky, but then they grew to love it. So we'll see how the dolphin
I still don't love tag
makes
sprint,
its way
FYI.
into plays.
If we could just not have tag sprint, that'd be
and,
fantastic.
And things like that. I'm sure we'll figure out where it's useful and not.
Pet the good boy.
They also allow for a ledge hang. There's a lot of times where you barely miss an edge of something, and I think this is going to be more practical in the modes like Ground War, which is making a return, and then Warzone 2 whenever it comes out. You'll be able to glide. If you barely miss, you'll be able to actually grab the ledge.
So do we not have any information on when Warzone 2 is coming? Is that, do you guys like, do we have like a window of time for that? Because I don't remember hearing anything about
I think there's a pistol mechanic.
I just know it's coming.
Well, so there's a ton of stuff there.
I guess I assumed it'd be around launch, but maybe it won't be.
Scenarios are going to allow for platforming. I didn't really see any platforming, so I don't know if
they said this year. Is that all they said?
Where you'd be able to be like Assassin's Creed style and jump up and climb the building. In terms of
maybe in December,
the most interesting thing to me was the dynamic vehicle gameplay. There's actually now added mechanics where if you're driving a vehicle, you can actually aim down sight.
I wonder what that means for Warzone 1
out, and you can actually
during that time frame. Are they adding guns from this game into there? Probably not, right?
Obviously, you're not driving the vehicle at that point, so it's going to be coasting. But you'll be able to use that. You'll be able to sort of jump on the roof.
Well, 4 months after launch will be in 2023.
They said this year. You're going to be able to shoot the tires out.
It's going to have to be November or December.
The way the driving mechanics
this game comes out October.
There's also a helicopter troop carrier, which you'll be able to fly around, and people can actually stand out the back or the sides. You're not fixed to a seat the same way the current helicopter is. There's amphibious.
Yeah, you can do a lot with the vehicles, but no, I know that Warzone 2 is a complete new thing. I'm wondering what's going to happen for Warzone 1 when Modern Warfare 2022 is out and before Warzone 2 comes out. Like, what are they going to do to like normal Warzone in that small time frame?
They said they wanted to change was to make it obviously a little bit more realistic. They're going for a lot of realistic things. Sometimes, like I said, to a fault. And now when a vehicle blows up, the overall frame will be left behind. Helicopter crash will be left behind. If it hits the water, it'll slowly sink, and that's kind of what it does. And this isn't currently how it is. We get an explosion, and then basically It's like it vaporized currently within Warzone. This should adjust for that. They've added tons of new field upgrades. There was several field upgrades. Pretty much everything else is making a return.
He's not going to mention Dead Silence because I don't think they know Dead Silence.
They're adding a few more. One of the most interesting was the cameras. Similar to the Rainbow Six Siege, if you've ever played that, you got the camera. You could bounce between them. It is a field upgrade, so it is set for a finite time. If you and your teammates put up multiple, you and your teammates will be able to look at those cameras that are shared between you, so you could actually get those multiple vantage points only while alive. So if you have a teammate spectating, they won't be able to look at that for you. And they also give it a little bit of alert when they've been spotted, so that the people will know, and they make a little bit of a noise. We didn't actually get to see it in action, but we'll see kind of how good this is, or kind of like not good. There's also a drill charge, which is kind of like an R6 too, Rainbow Six, where you put it on the wall and then it sends the explosives through. This one's a single grenade. You can put it on the side of a wall. It'll blow through the wall. At least it'll send a nade through it. So if somebody's camping a room, just hook it up and they're going to have to vacate that room. This is also a great vehicle deterrent. So that works as well. People got to jump out of that vehicle. There's a DDoS attack, which is kind of an EMP device. It shut down claymores, prox mines, those types of things.
Yeah, my question is still whether or not we're going to be able to see those things through walls like an engineer perk.
But again, that is a field upgrade. There's also something that's an inflatable decoy. This one's something like where you place it on the ground and then it pops up and it'll be in a fighting stance and it'll look very realistic. If you put it behind a desk, it'll kind of crouch. If you put it in a vehicle, it'll look like it's trying to sit in there type thing. If you put it in the water, it'll do like a looks like it's swimming pose. So it's kind of built in there.
Yeah,
obviously,
when vehicles are destroyed, they're going to stay on the map. It's going to dynamically change the map, which is cool.
This is Modern Warfare 2
campaign remaster. This is not gameplay of the new game, no.
And battle maps are essentially
this is the remaster of the original Modern Warfare 2.
Just like Ground War was, very similar to some of the Battlefield mechanics we've seen with a lot of vehicles on the map and stuff like that. But one of the best parts that they mentioned with this, and I would be jumping into Ground War Day 1 if you're really interested in seeing the new Warzone map, because one thing that they said was that they were able to utilize their ground war data to better make Verdansk. Obviously, all the Verdansk POIs, half of them were ground war maps. Whether we're talking about Quarry or whatever the case is, they were able to play test those essentially with 30 players versus 30 players, find out where the power positions are, the sight lines, and how the things were, so that when it came time to actually have it playable in Verdansk, they knew where to place the chest, where to close off a window, in those types of things, so they could essentially play test it. So I would imagine, and it sounded like they planned to do the same thing.
Well, to be fair, anyone that buys the game at launch is essentially just a play tester anyway, right?
So it is highly likely that if you jump into ground war or battle maps day 1, you're probably going to get a glimpse at the new Warzone map a little bit early. So that'll be pretty cool for them to stress test that. Core multiplayer is traditional 6v6, but they'll also have pacing. There's new modes that are, you know, I guess sure you'll experience.
You can change the receiver. Yeah, that's one of the attachment categories.
That's kind of where that is. Obviously, I got to get a little bit of hands-on. I feel like they've listened to feedback. I can't really talk much on it. I'm sure we'll have a time in the near future where we'll be able to discuss some of the finer details, and we'll get something closer to an alpha or a pre-beta or whatever you want to call it, where things are a little bit more set in stone. I think some of the settings were still a little fluid, so it's like, well, we're going to change that, and that's already in the next patch, so can't really talk too much on that. But overall, I think they've made a lot of conscious in the right direction. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.
All right. Well, again, we're kind of just going over the same information at this point, which is why I figured we should probably wrap this up, because we've heard 4 or 5 maybe different iterations of the same information, essentially. And now we're going to wrap up here by checking out CharlieIntel and just going through the tweets and stuff like that. So we're just going to zoom in here. I hate the message thing. It's like right there in the way. So there's the reveal trailer. Trailer showcases a small glimpse of Warzone 2's map. Let's take a peek-see. I mean, unless they told him this is Warzone 2, I don't see how you would know this is Warzone 2, but it just looks like, yeah, it's certainly buildings. All right, so during a QA with Infinity Ward, it was asked if inspiration from 2009 Modern Warfare 2 was taken for this game. The developers stated that they always take inspiration from the past, not nearly as much as they should, but also they want to make new things. So they also stated that looking back on the 2009 game, there is so much we would do differently. Yeah, you'd ruin it. An example given was the crash map. In Modern Warfare 2019, when it returned, it had a new opening area. It wasn't just to make the map new, it was to fix a choke point to exit from the building in the alley. So they're talking about the blue room, which is one of the big power positions of the original Crash, and then they made another way to get around and another head glitch. The original Crash was better. I don't really see the new Crash as an improvement of any kind. This is high rise up here, you say? Let's take a peek seat. Oh, it is high rise. Holy shit. You're right, that is high rise. Here's like the underground section there. There's one of the buildings. Here's the helicopter pad. Here's the little, there's the building that has the window that faces this way. Yeah, there's high rise. There she is. That's neat. Holy shit. I didn't even realize. All right, keep on going down here. Beatnix COD PC, thrilled to be developing once again the PC version of Call of Duty with Modern Warfare 2. All right, go Beatnix. I mean, they're always the ones that have to pour it over. Seeing some talks on weapon and gunsmith. Infinity Ward does not confirm the final number of attachments each weapon will have to earn. However, they did mention players will be able to equip more than 3, but way less than 10 attachments at a time. Final number not yet revealed. Okay. In regards to AI in Warzone 2.0, why don't you just call it Warzone 2? Infinity Ward confirmed that they are still actively working on how AI is represented, especially for scoreboards. Do AI kills count? Does dying by an AI count against your KD? Those are things that they're still evaluating for the experience. Well, I feel like they would have to, otherwise you find yourself in a situation where your stats, like in the war game mode in Call of Duty World War II, having all the AI and stuff like that be there, it just made it so your stats didn't count at all, essentially. And it kind of made you feel like you were wasting time because like you couldn't watch your kill count go up or anything like that. It just wasn't that good. Upside down, that was the worst part of the trailer. I hate that. Gunsmith's attachment tuning is very precise. You can fine tune attachments. Each comes with positive and negative effects on the weapon. The tuning system unlocks for weapons once you level... The tuning system unlocks for weapons once you level weapons up. It's an odd sentence. Activision has confirmed that starting with Modern Warfare 2, the entire franchise will be using one engine for a connected experience. So they talked about that back during Modern Warfare 2019. Now it's official. They're the same engine every single year. So if you like the feel of Modern Warfare 2, that's going to be pretty much the feel of COD going forward. If you don't like the feel, that kind of sucks. Damn. All right, that's interesting. Is that the ACR? Yeah, maybe. Call of Duty's now generated over 30 billion in revenue. Oh man, great. Yep, that's high rise in the trailer. This is a well, it's still the same building. Right up here is where like the teddy bears were. Here's how you got up with the Easter egg and stuff. It looks like they extended this to be more of a skyscraper on this end. It shouldn't really affect it that much, but yeah, there's high rise. Question is, will high rise be in multiplayer? Really hope it is. Double XP update correction. A double XP bonus is not on the Steam edition because bonus is only available after you buy the Vault edition. Okay. Modern Warfare 2's cheapest edition is $70 across all platforms, including PC. Yes, Activision raised the price by $10 on all platforms. The Vault edition is $99. There is no $60 edition anymore. That's going to be something that we're going to be seeing. We've already been seeing it a little bit in recent years. Certain games are coming out and they have a base price of $70 instead of $60. If I'm a YouTuber, it's whatever. Yeah, obviously I have to get the game. But for the average consumer, that's definitely going to turn some people off, right? Like, I think it's definitely going to happen. And you may wonder, like, well, how come, you know, games, the price of games has gone up. The price to make a game has gone up so much, but yet they're still selling games for $60. You know, why is that? Well, the reason why is they make so much money from DLC and supply drops and season passes and this, that, and the other thing, right? Well, now they're increasing the price. So you would assume from a consumer perspective that if the game has a higher base price, that one, hopefully the game's gonna be more complete at launch, but B, you would hope that there's gonna be less egregious monetization later on down the line when it comes to things in the shop and battle passes and things like that. Will that happen? I'm doubting it because it's Activision, but yeah, the cheapest edition is $70 dues. In addition, more intel on a new sandbox mode in the brand new Warzone play space as we get closer to launch. New sandbox mode. Wait, there were leaks and rumors about this. I was going to cover it in a video, just haven't had time. Weren't there leaks saying that there's essentially going to be like a Forge world for COD? Something to that effect, right? Where players can actually like make their own maps, or they can like, you know, for example, you could take Shoot House and you could go in and you could adjust the spawns and then go play that map in a private match with those adjusted spawns and stuff like that. That was the whole thing, right? Well, the trending thing is like things that you're interested in. I don't know what an Urza Miller is, but it's like Undertaker. They always show stuff like, they always show wrestling stuff for me, so I watch a lot of wrestling stuff. Yeah, there's a map editor. Yeah. So that's cool. Tune in Summer Game Fest tomorrow, and that's going to be oh, nope, it's 1 hour later, 2 p.m. to see Modern Warfare 2 campaign gameplay. But I'll probably be there for the entire Summer Game Fest, and we'll probably be streaming that and hanging out and having a good time. We had a chance to play Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer. More info coming later this year. Okay, cool. Infinity Ward mentioned that they've spent a lot of time building upon enhancing all systems in Modern Warfare 2, from movement to gunplay and more, to ensure the game felt new and different and not like the expansion pack. That's good news. Because I think a lot of us going into it are expecting it to feel like an expansion to Modern Warfare 2019 as compared to being a whole new game. Sure, it's going to look better, but mechanically it's probably going to feel very similar. They've apparently refined things, so it's going to feel a bit different. And that same feeling is what we're going to have every single year, because they're going to be using the same engine from here on out. But obviously every game is going to try to improve upon the previous iteration, you would imagine. With water and swimming in Modern Warfare 2, Infinity Ward currently only allows pistols and melee items to be used underwater. Equipment can also be used with proximity mines, being able to float down the currents. Yep. Modern Warfare 2 will also have an here we go. Modern Warfare 2 will also have an incredible post-release calendar. Set to include a massive amount of free post-launch content drops featuring new maps, modes, and blockbuster special events that can't be missed. Oh my god, laid it on thick this year. Wow, the $70 doesn't hurt as much as the game's out for 2 years. Good point. That's definitely a good point. But, okay, so it looks like free DLC's coming back, so the battle passes are... No, we already know battle passes are coming back. They're part of the bundles. So... blockbuster special events, maybe more integrations, kind of like the Kong and Godzilla thing. Free updates, more like shelved content to be released. Yep, time to drip feed you that content. Here's 8 maps at launch. Hope you guys enjoy. Don't like it? Go play the new game mode that no one enjoys. There's special maps for that. Spec Ops will return with more information on co-op being announced at a later date. No information on the rumored DMZ mode was shared. Pre-purchase to get all right. How much do I bet these look better than anything you can actually earn in game? New equipment, we've heard about that plenty of times today. It's going to support a wide variety of player behaviors, and basically rushers. Oh my god. Multiplayer will support a wide variety of player behaviors and allow different players to have fun in their own ways. These are terms that had to have come from Activision. The rusher, which is like a rusher. The sentinel. Please tell me internally they don't call campers sentinels. And then the stalker. You mean the rusher that just goes behind people? What? The Sentinel, dude. Oh no. Starting October 28th, Modern Warfare 2 is scheduled to release on PS5, PS4, Xbox X, Series X and S, Xbox One, PC, Battle.net, and PC Steam. Warzone 2 is scheduled for release later this year on the same platform. So, yeah, so Warzone 2 seems like it's coming November or December. Because the game comes out late October. So there you have it. It's not going to be, we're not going to be waiting until 2023 or anything like that. Sentinel, dude, it's funny. We had a chance to see campaign missions. I really don't care. One was called Night War or whatever. More campaign. Finally does mention that there's campaign mission featured in Modern Warfare 2. It takes place in Spain, where players are joined by Price and ghillie suits to take out enemies at 400 meters. Who cares? It's the campaign, dude. New vehicles are coming. There's basically an armored truck, but in the air, the troop carrier, transport chopper. We learned about that. The Rico Chet anti-cheat is going to be available in Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 from day one when they launch. I did mention that Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 will not launch on the same day. Yeah, it's going to happen later. Which brings up a question of what are they going to do with Warzone 1 while Modern Warfare 2022 is out. Modern Warfare 2019 was attempting to be provocative in its storytelling. With Modern Warfare 2, they're still focusing on realism, but also showing humans can become heroes. All right. An all-new mobile experience that will bring Call of Duty Warzone players on the go is in development, but no, yeah, so Warzone Mobile, which is going to use the Verdansk map. Infinity Ward confirmed there's no theater mode in Modern Warfare 2. That could be something that could be broadly... and that it could be something implemented broadly in the franchise in the future. Well, yeah, if they're using the same engine and stuff every single year, then maybe that'd be easier. I don't know. I'm not a developer, but a good theater mode. Like, you guys ever see like the Vanoss back in the day, like the Vanoss greatest noob tube ever made Black Ops 2 video? Like, the stuff you can actually do with theater mode back when was insane. But yeah, we got the Rico Chet anti-cheat. Activision says Warzone experience will still be available, but will remain separate. Today's Warzone will continue as a separate experience that will include a continuation of player progression and inventories within that Warzone experience. It's going to have a continuation? Does that mean that they're going to get the Modern Warfare 2 weapons in Warzone 1 and Warzone 2? Seems like kind of a waste. Breaking. Activision confirms inventories will reset for Warzone 2. Warzone 2 will feature a new Modern Warfare 2 content systems with brand new progression and inventories. Good. Get rid of all the old stuff. Activision has confirmed the Warzone 2 experience will be releasing later this year, and more information will be announced. Warzone 2 will share the engine gameplay mechanics and will be an extension of the Modern Warfare 2 universe. Initially called COD 2.0, Modern Warfare 2 kicks off with a new era, and this will include all Call of Duty being built on unified engine technology, connected gameplay, and ensuring the Warzone 2 feels like an extension of the Modern Warfare 2 universe. Hopefully that actually does work out, because if you go into like Warzone nowadays, like Warzone feels like its own separate entity. It just feels different than everything else, you know. Multiplayer in Modern Warfare 2 features two key styles of play: battle maps and core maps. Battle maps are large-scale maps for ground war, and core maps are built exclusively for 6v6. Core maps will take place in the locations around the world. Battle maps will be POIs from the new Warzone map, which apparently they built the battle maps first and then put them in the Warzone, so they're actually like designed to be good for ground war. The Ghost Legacy Pack. Oh boy, which Ghost are you gonna be? New vehicle combat. Yeah, we've heard all about that. Here are the different editions of the game. New movement mechanics, including swimming on certain maps, dive and ledge hang. We've heard about that. Will feature water and swimming in the engine. We've heard about that. There's a big focus on AI. AI in Modern Warfare 2 reacts, is lethal, and is fully aware of its surroundings to provide a sense of life across all modes. AI can group up, flank players, and more. They have tested a large sandbox with 300 AI and 100 live players. That's just... yeah, that's nuts. 400 on one map. I don't know how that's going to work. And I don't know. I want to know more about how AI is going to be implemented. I don't think it's going to be a big thing in normal multiplayer. Like if you just play Dom or Search or whatever, you're probably not going to see AI. But Warzone 2 may very well have a good number of AI Fortnite style. We'll have to see. Platforms where weapons share unlocks. New attachment tuning mechanics allow players to fine-tune attachments. Yeah, I've heard about that. And the reveal trailer is about to premiere in 5 minutes. Lots of tweets. All right, so that's the end of the news. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Thank you for the follow. But here we are about 2.5 hours in. That was a lot of details. Lots of information. Lots of good stuff. The game sounds all right so far. But just like Ace, I don't want to go like, oh, this is going to be great. Or, oh, this is going to be terrible. We don't know. You know, we don't know too much, really. I mean, we sat here for 2.5 hours, but we really didn't get a massive amount of new information. And honestly, until you get your hands on it for yourself, it's really hard to judge a game. But the fact that, I will say the positives are the fact that they said that they don't want the maps to be like Modern Warfare 2019 had at launch. They're making them more simple, having less windows and things like that. No one's mentioned doors, but they're trying to make it so there's less verticality and that the maps are just more simple. which is a good thing. The weapons trees, I think they're calling them, those sound actually like a really good system. AI is going to be interesting. I don't know how it's going to work. All the vehicles and all the ground war stuff, the new field upgrades, that's whatever. We see stuff like that in every single game. But what I really want to know more about, I want to know, is Dead Silence going to be a perk? That's a big thing. I want to know, are doors going to be there? That's pretty important to me. And kill streaks. We didn't really hear much about kill streaks besides the fact that the Wheelson can go in the water now, which apparently is probably something they specifically put in the build to show people that certain kill streaks can be interacting with the water. You know, we haven't really done a whole lot. You didn't see the reveal trailer yet. It's honestly nothing crazy, but we can end off the stream with that if you would like. Let me just go to the Call of Duty channel. I mean, it's on Twitter and stuff like that, but it's really nothing insane. It's just campaign stuff, you know. But yeah, overall, there's some good positive news in here, and that is information I'm happy to see. Is it all positive? No, but there's a lot of good info out there. But guys, I'm gonna wrap up here. I hope you enjoyed this stream. What do you guys think? Should I like clip this up and edit it together and stuff like that? I might just re-upload this to YouTube. I don't know. Because I don't know like what kind of video I can make that isn't the exact same video everyone else is having. And I think people might enjoy watching all the React content. I don't know. I don't want to make React content a common thing on my channel or anything like that. But I think maybe for this here, it might as well be good. But yeah, it's a minute 48. It's not very long. But I'm gonna wrap up there. I will see you guys all soon. Thanks for hanging out. And let's make sure it's unmuted. Have a good one.